It is. It's podcast day. We're excited. We're digging out there. What have we got? Ooh, yes.
Dude, it's fucking podcast day.
Takes you back to that time of when you remember what you were doing when you first listened to that album, or
What is going on, you champions? That's right. Yes.
What up?
Podcast day. Two dudes talk music. Yes, and I've been stewing on this shit all day.
What is going on?
Yes.
It's that time. It's that time. Podcast time. Yeah, spill the beans, man. Spill the beans. We want it. We want this. The exclusive
Yeah.
details.
Yeah, boy. What's up, mate? We are at 100.
We are at
We're at 100 followers.
We did it. We did it.
We got to 100 followers.
We did it.
Yay!
We
Get
did
a
it.
Party popper, just a little.
We did it. I don't know why.
Thank
It
you.
just keeps fucking freezing every time you come into the full screen, and it kills my life.
no.
It's killing me. No, I got you back.
Ah,
We got the
no.
100. We did it.
We hit 100. All
Let me
right.
close again. Fuck. Let's just
Thank you.
run
Let's
this
just do
intro.
it. Yeah, let's
Fucking
do it. All right.
Discord.
Thank you to everyone who has followed, shared stuff, liked stuff, the occasional subscribers, whatever, all that good stuff. You know, it means a lot to us that you're willing to spend your time listening to another two dudes with a white fucking podcast. So thank you, but we really appreciate
We
all the
do,
time
we
and
do.
the follows and all that good stuff. Thank you so much. Obviously, next goal is 150, so let's see if we can get to there.
We want you. Come
Uh,
on.
So yeah, if you're watching us and you enjoy what you see today, please feel free to chuck us a follow. As always, we love some questions in the chat. We love the engagement. So please, if you've got any questions for us today or for our guests, don't hesitate to throw those in there. We like to see an active chat. It always makes us feel good. Also, massive shout out to CJ and local band Smokeout. Every Sunday at
Love them
4:20
guys.
in the afternoon, they have the Tournament of Champions this Sunday. So if you've been following along every week when they run it, they have a whole bunch of local bands, videos, songs, whatever, and everyone kind of votes if they want to go in. And at the end, there's a winner for the week. And once they've built up enough, they go to a bracket. And today, I think, is it a bracket or is it just they do
No,
another
so
like?
it's a head-to-head. They do
Head-to-head, yeah.
heads for
Yeah,
for
so it's a
bands.
bracket.
So
So,
it'll be
all right.
a good watch this Sunday, 4:20. Our boys from Red B are in there, and
They're in the running.
yeah. So good luck to them. I genuinely hope they win. I love Red B.
Yeah, me too. So much love for those boys. So yeah, make sure you tune into that one on Sunday. And yeah, like we said, you just follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Because the more love you show us, the bigger we're able to make this, and the better we're able to make this for all you guys. So
Yep.
without further ado, I think we should get to our guests. Massive thank you to these guys for jumping in. We did have to reach out to these guys last minute because we had something else lined up. Unfortunately, that fell through, but no harm done. This is just as good of a guest. Let's get them on. It's the one, the only. It's the boys from TRIPSITTA.
Boys, how are
Yo,
you?
yo.
Jack and Jake, what is cracking? We're gonna get that confused. I know I am. Oh,
It's honestly still happens with us.
Happens all the time.
Guys, how he's feeling? How he's feeling after gym? Nah.
Riding the come down wave at the moment, just like
Honestly, Jim the
Listen.
Blues.
Jim the Blues.
Post gym now blues.
Yeah.
Mm,
I know they're
very real.
feelings. They
2
are.
weeks of just
Make everyone a bit bigger there. Filling that screen. Lovely.
Yes, definitely.
That's awesome. Well, I've got to say, all the socials have been going off. You're a little behind the scenes, or as Jack was calling it, BTS.
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 Yeah, all the wrap ups and reels.
Absolutely
Bit of
fantastic.
K-pop, bit of K-pop.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, what is this? What's he talking K-pop for?
What's told about?
But yeah.
Mate, it's honestly, it's a little sad that I won't ask your age, but at your age, you didn't realize BTS meant behind the scenes.
Yeah, I didn't. I genuinely didn't.
Yeah.
I'm that guy.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Pretty much, kids. Don't keep me down with the lingo.
But no, that's awesome. I'm
That's
really
alright.
I'm really glad Gymna went well for you guys.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic.
just yeah,
Absolutely.
unfortunately,
Just-
my situation, I wasn't able to make it up there this time, but maybe next year.
Gee, we missed your faces. We missed your faces though. We did.
100%. We're all repping skunk cone beanies though to beat the
Yeah,
beat the
there
colours.
were a
That
few-
makes you
there
feel
were
any
a few
better.
there,
We
man.
did indeed.
Yeah, nice, nice.
No, it was, well, how's everything going with Since Dear Miss Tina as well? Because you released it on the Friday just before Gymnast, so it's been, what, 2 weeks
Yep.
since it's been out now? So how's the reception been? How's the feedback been?
Yeah. People have been really shocked, I think, to be honest. I think it's been such a massive change in
Yeah.
like sound for us. So like I feel like Paradise was definitely like the biggest like probably shock change, I think. People would have been like, "Oh yeah, it's still very TRIPSITTA, it still keeps that rock element." The first 3 singles were very, like first The Valley being like this straight punk rock, and then we went to more of like a reggae kind of rocky beat, and then we had like a pure like cut between reggae and rock with the change, and now we've gone to this very like indie rock kind of vibe. And then with Dear Miss Tina, we completely just fucking went to space, I could
Yeah.
say.
Definitely went to space.
Space. It was a very fun
So
time in
Kyle-
the studio. Very,
Kyle
very
showed,
fun.
Kyle showed me that song on the Thursday when he was making his way up. He gave me a little. He's like, "Oh, do you wanna hear the song?" Comes out to me. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, give it a thing." And I gotta say, yeah, I was blown away. It was definitely a bit of a change, but
Yeah.
when I say I was blown away, it's in all of the best ways. The production was off the charts with it. I was just floored by this, and it's a piece of art really that you guys have created, more than a song, much more than a song. It's definitely
Oh.
I definitely would consider that to be art. Which some people just make songs, other people make art, and I definitely think that falls into the latter category there for sure.
Oh, it's definitely-
Fucking legend. Absolute legend.
That means a lot. That is actually awesome to
Add
hear,
moist,
honestly.
add moist.
That is awesome.
Well, the first thing
Yeah, no,
Raph
there are-
noticed and that he made comment on was the acoustic guitar, that real, that
Mm,
bright.
12 string. 12 string. And a mandolin. There's a mandolin in there as well,
Oh,
which
yeah.
just like,
I believe there's also a
Lipstick.
6-string in there too. I
there
believe
is.
like we've stacked a 6-string with a 12-string with a mandolin, and
Mm.
that's that big opening sort of folky sound
It's
to
like-
the
it's-
actual
It's like going
ensemble.
anywhere in winter in Queensland. Layers.
layers.
It's
Oh
all
yeah,
about
the sound
layers.
is definitely layers. Definitely layers. There's even a gong in there. I'm still looking for the
Yeah.
gong, honestly.
same,
I-
same. I
I was-
couldn't hear it. It's
I
there.
wasn't
It's
I wasn't there
I
for
know,
Gong
it's
Day.
recorded.
I wasn't there for
It was
Gong
good.
Day, so I don't know when it actually is in the song. So I'm still
Gong Day.
looking for it.
I like that gong day. The day that all of the gong parts were recorded, and you just like
It was a very random.
just-
It was a very random day.
I can
It
just
was
see
good,
it. Look, in my head, I'm just imagining like everyone rocking up. You got a whole crew of people there at the studio, and then it's just all right and rolling.
It was,
All right, cool, that's good, and then everyone fucking goes home. Like,
it was definitely that, but spread over like what, 15 hours
oh god,
or something like
Big
that.
day. It was a big day.
Something ridiculous. I remember we were recording it, and I had to miss out on day 2 because I caught something absolutely horrendous. It was
Oh,
dying
no.
before at the end of the session there. But yeah, that was when all the plans were being made for the next instruments that were going in. So we got all the regular ones, like things that we actually play on stage, and then then we had all the weird shit because Hunting Ground has a bunch of random stuff on the walls, and we were like, well, if it can go in key, it's going in the tune. So
The best set saying if it fits, it sits.
yeah, that's awesome.
Wow.
I mean, and must have been hell for the engineer who was trying to.
he was loving it. We did the more beers
I
we
loved
had
it.
him, the more open he
I loved
was to everything.
Yeah.
It was great.
Oh,
That's the
Getting
secret.
nice tasty rums. He was loving it. He was getting into it.
Yeah, he was
John was
having
like
a great
absolute
time.
lad.
He is. He's a legend.
And he really enjoyed hanging onto the gong. I remember direct quote from him was, "I can feel it in my balls."
My
As
God.
they
I
hit
wonder
us.
what it'd be like to-
Feel it in my balls.
Oh,
Good
wow.
time.
I feel like
See-
it would be good to hit one.
It's funny, like you guys talking about throwing all that extra stuff in because Raph was actually talking about in the last reaction video we did, ear candy, and
Yep.
how it just gives songs that re-listenability.
Yep.
It just doesn't
Oh,
sit
indeed.
straight. You can listen to it again and find something new,
Mm.
and yeah, that's what makes it art.
And that's one of the
Especially
things.
with your quality headphones as well, that you probably
Yeah.
better hear a whole bunch of different stuff as well.
Yeah, like I think a
100%.
lot of bands don't think about that stuff, and that's why but it can make the difference, all the difference between, you know, a good song that people go, oh yeah, that was good, I really like that, and then they kind of don't feel the need to go back and listen to it again, versus, you know, an interesting song and something that people want to go back and re-listen to because they don't necessarily realize consciously what the difference is, but
Mm.
in the background, in their little kind of subconscious minds, there's like all these little things that are setting off, you know, the happy juices in the brain that
You
they're
can
not
definitely,
even thinking about.
yeah, you can definitely see why you get the hi-fi nerds going out and spending disgusting amounts of money on equipment just to get those, like, you know,
Yeah.
those that, you know, I want to hear David Gilmour breathing before he hits his first note and wish you were here.
Yeah.
You know, like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
the first
honestly,
breath.
it elevates his track, you know, like, especially, I mean, touching on, you know, Gilmore, like Pink Floyd were obviously masters of that. Like, you can listen to
Yes.
Shine On You Crazy Diamond like 10 times in a row, and if you focus every time, you'll probably hear something new,
Find
like
something new.
every single time. Even they were, I think when they remastered the album, like a few years back when they made the 5.1 version, they were like, holy shit, there's like a bell at this point that we forgot about. There's like this in the back. We don't even remember putting this in the song, but it's there.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
It makes it revisitable, as you said. It's a powerful
Mhm.
tool. Songwriting is
Mhm.
actually giving a shit in the studio about what is in the background.
Especially like bet trying it, you know? Because I remember we were just like, oh, should we do it? And we're like, you know, fuck it, just give it a go, see what it sounds like. If we don't like
Why
it,
not?
we can get rid of it.
Yeah, we
Fuck
can
it,
always
put it
take
in.
out.
It doesn't
And
have
is
to be
that
that
sort of,
perfect mix.
has that informed where, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but has that sort of informed how you guys are looking forward to what you might be doing
Oh,
next, in
fuck
terms
yeah.
of, you know, all
Oh,
right, well,
fuck.
now that we know this kind of stuff works with our vibe, we can write with this in mind about maybe including a bunch of this extra stuff.
100%.
Especially even the singles coming out soon, like I wouldn't say like the next one. The next one's got big energy and like a lot of high energy, perfect for like jumping around, getting fun.
Yeah, that one's a bit more straightforward. Like, you know, it is what it is. It's fun, but
Yeah,
intense track.
great fun. And
100%.
then the one after that, ooh, just
Yeah.
back into that territory again, back into that,
Oh yeah, keen for that
back
one.
into that. Yeah.
Keen for people with good subs for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
I remember being in the
say,
car, and there was some quiet moments. I remember we were sitting in the car. I think it was for Demas Tina. We listened to all the 4 tracks because we got them all mastered. They're all finished. We're like, fuck it, let's jump in the car. I couldn't get the right, you know, sound properly in the studio, and I was like, no, it just sounds a bit tinny. Doesn't sound right. So we all jumped in my
Your PA's
car,
hanging on
sat
for
in
dear
there.
life.
Yeah, the PA was just dying. It was absolutely not. It was not happy. Not happy that day. We're sitting in the car. I remember. I think we finished DMS Tina and Velvet Zen, and there was not a word.
No one said shit.
Not a word was said. No, it was just like quiet. And then I think it was either Jake. I think it was you, Jake. You said you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah, it was pretty much like that was all anyone could say, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, exactly. What the fuck? Oh my
Yeah.
god!" And then it exploded into like, "What the fuck was that?" Yeah, no, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
it's a
That's
good
awesome.
Very
When you can
cool.
say that about your own stuff, you know,
Yeah, we're very excited.
you're onto
Very
something.
excited.
Indeed. Yeah.
If you love
I
it
mean,
yourself, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong.
if you like it, someone else will. You know.
100%.
Let's see, you guys are fans of music, so
Yeah. Well, we have been known to enjoy
A good
sound
tune or
certain
two.
frequencies. Yeah.
And
A
that's
good
something that I think,
noise.
that's
Good
something I think
noise.
is so important with when it comes to creating music. And I understand how once people have been in making their own music for a while, it can become easy to get disillusioned with other music, right? You kind of like you spend so much time and focus thinking about your own music and that sort of thing, and then to just even consider the idea of, oh, well, now I want to go and listen to someone else's stuff. Sometimes that can turn people off that, and they can become quite insular and focus only on their own stuff. And I think that shows in their output when that happens. You know, like because as soon as they stop engaging with a broad range of other music,
Mm.
it's almost like when you've got a population of animals and they don't have enough people, so they're like inbreeding with each other, right? You just kind of end up with this, like, there's no diversity in there, and it just kills what you're trying to create, uh,
Mm.
because it just becomes stagnant. So
Well,
I think it's super important for any musician to maintain that love of music, of other people's music, just as much as
and,
their own.
and definitely not similar types either. Like one of the best
Mm.
things I've ever done is just like as a musician at least, as well as because I was obviously we're all music enjoyers before we were musicians.
Mm.
But just literally listening to as much like random stuff as possible, like stuff that like I'm a rock fan, but I'll spend a day to go listen to jazz or classical, or I'll deep dive into something metal or some weird
Nice.
genre of stuff, because you can pull stuff from it.
Yes.
100%.
Inspiration, it comes from everywhere. Even like ambient pieces can be, you can be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's things to do.
Oh,
even
yes.
even if not to marvel at the production of something as well.
Mm.
Production.
I'm getting really into like listening to EDM at the moment, especially with like at work and stuff like that with clients, and like using Logic and stuff like that, and helping them work out how to use stuff. And I'll be like, you know what? Let's chuck like 20 rises in this. Let's like turn this into an absolute banger Skrillex EDM track. And I'm like, yeah, I like this. This is
yeah.
cool.
And on the other end of the spectrum, like like rap and hip hop and things like that. Like I'll often listen to stuff if people show me that, or I'll I have my classic hits that I go and revisit. But even like sampling in it is an art in itself. Like you go in there, get asked like Daft Punk or something to really take.
Literally was talking about Daft Punk the other day, and just the way that they're able to take a piece of music and hear it and go, well, if we cut this
break it
piece up and rearrange it,
Oh my god!
let's take this bit, pull it apart and rearrange it.
Half-second samples. It's like
Yeah,
ridiculous.
and then
That's
they can just
another.
the way that it's almost like it's like Tony Stark's got something on his fucking screen and he can just like boom, explodes it
apart,
and see all the different parts and then move it around. They've just got this ability to see to
100%.
take a song or listen to a piece of music and just reimagine it a completely unique way.
That's another artist that rewards hi-fi as well. It's good
Oh,
old
yeah.
Daft Punk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
They-
and that sort of attention to detail, it's I think that's one of the reasons that they've been able to maintain success with their
Brand.
I mean,
very
they didn't have
specific
to.
style
They
of
didn't have to
music.
release anything since Ram, and people were still like,
Yeah.
"Well, they're the goat." Like
Yeah.
they were just like,
Still
"Yeah, that's
paying
it.
out.
That doesn't get any better than that, really."
and they're not trend chasers either.
No,
It would have
No.
been very easy for Daft
Trendsetters.
Punk
Trendsetters
to
are
go.
very trendsetters.
Yes, it would have been very easy for them to delve into, like right into dubstep and become when that sort of really
Oh,
popped
yeah.
up as a trend and go because
100%.
they know how to do electronic music like nobody's of business, so they could easily go in there and release stuff in that market when it got popular. But they went, no, we're still going to do our thing, and that just I think speaks to the strength of what
People
they've got
love them
going on.
for it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
The longevity they had was just. Well, I don't think they're together anymore now. I don't think they're a thing.
No,
anymore.
they disbanded. I think it was 2 years
Last
ago
year?
or something like that now.
Yeah,
But,
they've called it a day, but
Yeah,
They'll be
I've heard
back.
that one of them's actually gonna come out. I think it's later this year. He's gonna come out with a like a classical. Like he's been working with an orchestra and he's made like a composition, sort of like a symphony, if you will, of like of just whatever the hell that comes out of that dude's mouth. Pretty much like
Just
it's
wizardry.
yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see what it is, but I can only imagine like going from a sampling electronic music background to full-on orchestral composition. I'm really interested to see like how that translates and if it's going to be
yeah,
I don't know, funky orchestra would sounds lit.
It'll be interesting to see if he
Be like big band.
if he does what I think it's Misha Barton from Periphery does, because he writes a lot of orchestral stuff now too. But what he does it all on the keyboard. He's like, I can't play the violin to save my life, but I can hear it in my head. So he just drops all the samples in and he just writes full pieces now. And
That's why we have synths, I guess. Yeah. 'cause
Yeah.
They
Mm.
synth-
So it'd be very
synth-
interesting to
Make
see
whatever
if he
you want.
actually wrote it and now he's actually maybe conducting it or
Yeah, pretty much. You can write the piece and then,
yeah.
or I mean, most of the times it's for at least I think in a classical thing, when they're writing it, at least it's like they go for more like we want this part to be in this key, eliciting this kind of emotion with this much intensity, and then they sort of just let the section riff until they've got something, and then like they'll write it out. Like I know the old school composers probably were sitting there actually big braining it and writing
Yeah.
out stuff as it goes,
Yeah.
but I know that in a lot of like big jazz quartet, like jazz bands, they do that. They'll just go, it's this vibe, do it.
And
and
that
that's
fucks me
cool.
up when I think about it though, because you look at something that people back in like the classical era that were writing music, and you're like they couldn't sit there with a synth and a computer and like make a bunch of layers of stuff and hear it all together at one. Like they had to sit there at a piano or a harpsichord and kind of write the lines and just figure it all out
Picture
in their head.
It's
Figure it out in their
it's
head
like,
and
it's ridiculous.
coming up with these 20-30 minute pieces of music with movements and everything, basically like coming up with a fucking book.
The original
and,
prog
and,
stars.
and you're just like,
Yeah, dude,
the-
that is so true. The original prog stars,
And-
100%.
the funny thing is though, you look back and all these people have talked about how eccentric they were and how they had all these different things, and nowadays you're like, oh, so they were autistic. Like that's basically
Yeah, yeah,
that's
borderline,
basically
borderline.
what
They would have, mate.
I mean,
a lot of those
Well,
people would have
spot
been
on.
very far on the spectrum. I mean, you look at Beethoven.
Yeah.
He what by the time
blind and deaf, and you couldn't stop the dude.
yeah, you still couldn't stop him. He cut the legs off his piano and felt it through. Played the piano while it was on the floor. Stuck his ear to the floor and just felt the vibrations and wrote pieces. I think that's how he wrote one of his most famous pieces.
yes.
Yeah, I think it was his fifth, wasn't it? Fifth symphony or fourth symphony.
Not sure
it's
which
the,
one, but
It's
definitely
the one. It's the
later
one
ones.
that like everyone knows.
Yeah,
That, it's got all the fun stuff
fifth.
in it.
It is the fifth.
But
It is the fifth?
bringing it back to you guys, because that's why you're here. We're here.
That's right. Yeah, we're not here to. Well, we
No,
like
but
it.
it's
talking
Don't get me
music.
wrong.
No,
We love the
talking music.
tangents, but we ultimately want to bring it back to our guests and to you guys. So,
Of course.
so you guys were saying, so it was 4 tracks that you guys recorded in those sessions. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Over two
right.
yeah, that's
studios.
right.
Over 2
There were
studios.
two
Okay.
studios.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first two that you've just heard are with Jono,
So
which you
Paradise
probably,
Palestina.
if you're in the Brisbane music scene, you can't miss the dude because he literally is 3 meters tall.
Is it cryptid?
Everyone knows who he is. If you don't know who I'm talking about, you will,
Go to,
because
go
you'll
to
see him.
Tomcat on a Friday night. You'll find him.
You'll see him. You are absolute legend. Shout out
he
to
is.
Jono if you're listening. Good guy. He did a fantastic job of those 2 tracks. Absolutely fantastic job. We knew that those 2 tracks would probably pop off with him, just based on like us listening to his previous work that he's done with other people and his sound that he kind of likes and how he works, and just the fact that we know him pretty well as well. We've had him as a soundie for so many, like a couple of years now, and we're like, he does a really good job of just mixing us live. So let's give him a chance with his work in the studio.
Mhm.
And then for the next 2, we decided to step it up
Mix it up. a little.
7 years, and had a ARIA winning producer Stuart Stewart come in, and we went to his studio for like a week, and basically he came in like an absolute legend, probably about 3 or 4 times before we went to the studio with him, just to listen to our music in the studio. He just came to our place, jumped in the room, and he was like, "All right, what do you got?"
Play your
He's
shit.
like, I know you want to record 2. I know you want to. I got 5 days with you, so show me what you got. And he's like, just as as ruthless as you'd think an ARIA producer would be. He was just like, shit, good, shit, rewrite it, shit,
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
What else you got?
Can't go in there with
So
an ego if
absolutely-
you're going to sit with him. He
Oh
will
yeah,
destroy
oh yeah,
it.
oh yeah.
He will destroy it.
100%.
Good
You gotta like
thing,
take it in.
That's
As
what you need
your-
sometimes.
as a-
though.
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Because
You need that.
realistically, that's the next step. Like, if you guys really want to play with the big boys, you got to start talking like big boys, and that's how big
Exactly.
boys talk.
Carlton Love, exactly.
I mean that's one of
Exactly.
the.
And he was
Sorry, go on.
just an absolute legend, just absolute legend to work with. Like, he is probably one of the quickest workers you'll ever see. Like, he'll be like, he'll be like, oh, what do you want to sound like? Like, what are you aiming for? Who's your audience for these ones? Who's it going to work for? And I was like, oh, we're trying to aim for a Triple J audience with these kind of two, and these ones are more this kind of audience. So he's like, all right, cool, let's have a little play around, see what I can do. He's like listening to all these other tracks beforehand. He's like getting us to record little demos at our place and then send them through. And he's like, can you rewrite this bit?
Yeah.
Rewrite this bit. Change it. So he won't even say, like, do this or change this. He's just like, rewrite it.
You
Just
have 5
rewrite it.
minutes.
Pick
Go.
something,
Rewrite it.
just do it
Just,
better.
Mm-hmm.
do it better.
How,
Yeah, he's like, you can do better.
how, how does it sort of? I mean, from a guitarist, Jake and the bassist and that. Like when you sort of get that feedback, and it puts you on the spot that hard. What's sort of going through your mind at that point?
Well,
It's
the
kind of
first-
a little bit shocking, I reckon.
Yeah, the first thing it does is, one, it humbles you quite a bit, and it makes you the pressure, for me at least, makes you think pretty critically, pretty quickly. So he's not like very vague about it. He'll go, give me more of he's like, I like this particular note here, but the way you've hit this part, from that, we need to work on the transition. Can you run through a couple of ideas, or just in the next 2 minutes, and we'll find something more solid and we'll work on it. And as long as you're not, as long as you think your playing isn't, God's gift to music, generally it's a pretty positive experience, because you'll come out of it with the knowledge of how to sort of write a bit better in the moment. So, you can go from something, even like the same notes in the same timing. It's just, you might say, okay, you're going too hard here. You're playing 16th notes. Drop it back to 8 just for this part, and then we'll go back into it, and it'll hit better. And then if you just trust the process, you'll find that he's right. And when you go into writing, when we're on to the next song 6 months down the track, you keep that in mind, and it just makes you more, so you don't waffle on and put everything in the song, so you don't want to keep writing just all these generic parts, or it makes you pick your strongest parts a lot easier. So that's the best part about it. Other than it's a bit intimidating, definitely, when you've been playing like a certain part for, like, we'll be practicing the songs for months, and then you get in and you've got this big bit that you pull out, and he's like,
No.
that needs to go, but we'll work, but we'll fix it. So it's humbling, but it's a learning experience if you're not egotistical, which you shouldn't be if you're a muso, anyways.
So, well, that's, and I get, from look, I can't say I know any of you guys like really, really well, but from what I do know of you guys, I can't imagine you guys being, super egotistical about that sort of stuff, right? Like, you've, like, I mean, I had an experience many years ago, when I was probably a few years into playing bass, but I was still like that guitarist who was that failed guitarist who was playing bass rather than being a bass player. And I was studying music at TAFE, and I thought I was hot shit. And we were watching back some of the stuff, and the performance teacher literally turned to me after it finished, and he looked me dead in the eyes and goes, "First things first, you're not nearly as good as you think you are." And I was like, "Fuck you."
That's a glass break.
I was like, what the fuck are you? What are you talking about? I'm like, I'm the best bass player here. These fucking cunts have got nothing on me. But I was really mad, and I stewed on it for like a week, and then I went back and watched the performance back again, and I was like, fuck, he's right. He's right.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Ego
And
death
you know,
of musicians.
and it
Definitely a
was
powerful
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, and you know, it was what I needed, you know, and in hindsight, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me in terms of my music because it enabled me to take that step back and reassess. And so, I think for for yourselves, I can see that being a very much like a turning point because you guys have already been killing it. You've already been out there like fucking blowing everyone else off the stage, and now going through this experience, I can imagine that coming out the other side of it, going forward, you'll, you know, you're all smart enough to be able to retain and apply that to everything that you're doing going forward. And
Mm.
I can only, I mean, I can only imagine how amazing the next lot of songs you're going to be coming out with after
hope
this
They
lot.
they definitely step it up. They definitely step it up. Stuart really put the hammer down on us, like especially in just in the practice room before we hit the studio. Like those 5 sessions that he had with us, where he just came in and he was like, "All right, let's look at the song again. Let's look at this." And he's like, "All right, we're going to the studio next week. Can you have this song rewritten by then?" And we were just
Yeah.
like, "What?
What do you mean
Yeah.
rewritten?
This is how the song is. This is how we've been
Yeah.
playing it for a year, and you want us to just change everything all of a sudden?
Want to just
Pretty
pick a new
much.
Yeah.
song?
Yeah."
Yeah, well,
And like
It-
that's the beauty of Stuart. That's like I guess the aria, winning, magic that comes out of it. You know what I mean? That's
it-
where
It's earned him those arias, and so
Yeah.
his process
Yeah.
clearly
yeah.
works.
The
Well,
results
it's
are there.
And
also,
it-
we
It's
just
crazy.
want the music to be the best it can be.
Yeah.
100%.
For listeners, we don't. At the end of the day, like, yeah, we definitely can. We can write, all these crazy parts and do what we want, and we could say fuck you. We're putting out what we're putting out, right? And I imagine we'll probably have a moment there where we decide to do a complete creative freedom, thing that every artist does. But until then, the point is definitely to make music that people are going to enjoy. It's going to make them feel good, or at least, it's going to elicit an emotional response, and it's going to be memorable. And if we have to be told that this part sucks, change it, otherwise the whole song's going to fail, then that's what you got to do. And it's, it can be obviously a kick in the guts if it's a part you particularly like, but it's you got to serve the song. That's a musician's job, is to serve the song
Yes.
any
The
day of the week.
song
If we weren't there to do that as a band, we'd all be solo musicians doing
exactly.
doing entirely what we want to do. So we need to be TRIPSITTA. It can't be TRIPSITTA featuring Jake on the bass doing his crazy shit that he wants to do, or Jack doing weird avant-garde vocals, or Andy coming in with ridiculous polyrhythms, or
Soul.
it can't be anything like that. It's got to be serve the song, always. Priority number one. And you would obviously resonate with that as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's sort of my take on that.
Good time,
No,
good.
it's good.
Good time, good.
And it can be very challenging, I think, to when you talk about serving the song, it can be really hard sometimes, I think, to know if you think your idea is good because you believe it's serving the song, or you think your idea is good because it's your idea.
Yeah, that's definitely that's the thing that comes with time and experience in just writing more songs. Obviously, there's the famous thing of like, oh, I think it was I think you might have mentioned it, Kyle, with they're interviewing John Lennon. It's like, how did you write all these beautiful songs? It's like, you should have seen the ones that didn't make it to the album. It's like you've got to write a whole hell of a lot of shit stuff to write one good thing, and you will have to get peer reviews, and people will have to tell you stuff sucks. And the best thing you can do, obviously, get people that give decent feedback and just say, yeah, it's all right, or no, not my vibe. You want someone to go, yeah, I like this, but this part drags on, or this seems to be, do you reckon you could get this bit better? That obviously always helps, but you'll definitely know when something's working and when something isn't working. But that obviously comes with time, patience, experimentation, trying new things, that sort of stuff.
And I feel like part of it too is sometimes, you'll have an idea that you think's amazing, and there'll be some pushback, and you're like, no, no, let's just try it. Can we just try it? And then they try it, and you try it, and then once you hear it out loud, you're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And you
We
have
have
to
a
concede
very
that. So
we have a very good writing process when it comes to things like that. Like we'll try everything once.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, so you know we'll go, oh, let's do this. I wrote this thing for this part. Let's see if it fits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you also got to be
Give it a
prepared for the
try.
rest of the band to look at you like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah,
You know,
but-
like what the fuck was that?
It's a scary thing, and I think that's the most a very important thing about being in a band, and especially like writing music together, especially like five guys now, like nearly six now basically. When you're thinking about tracks and thinking about songs and writing stuff, you got to be all right. Well, I got this idea. What do you think? And then everyone will be like Jake said, oh, that's dumb. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's not really gonna work. And you
I don't
gotta
think I
you gotta
fit
have the
five people.
absolute balls. You gotta have the absolute balls to be like, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I can kind of see that, and just have a swig of beer and get into the
But
next bit.
you will appreciate the honesty in the long run. You know, like we actually had a recent experience with Andy. We wanted to write a new song. There was a new song that no one's heard or seen or anything like that before. That's about all I'll say about that song. But I made it. We all had a little of a challenge that we set where it's like, okay, different approach. Let's all go home, make a complete demo of what we think based on the idea of the theme of the song, what we think that would sound like, and then we'll pick the best, and we'll pick the
Keep
one that
going.
fits that theme, and then we'll roll with that. I got a bit inspired and made a whole demo. Did a drum track, wrote bass, wrote lyrics, recorded vocals, did guitar, the whole kit and caboodle. I was like, okay, this has obviously got something, something to help. It was like, good afternoon's worth of dedication. Took it to Andy. Andy was like, listen to it, and he's like, on the right track, but and then that's the part where you gotta go, okay, we're about to scrap 6 hours of work here, but it's okay. Because we ended up with something that we all wanted, but he was like, yeah, I like the lyrical themes. We're going to edit a few things here, but the instrumentation, it was like, I think, admittedly, it was very sort of, I tried to do a punk thing. It turned out more 70s rock. So we had to scrap that, but we took some ideas from that. But it was like, you have to really watch someone, you have to be, prepared for that stuff to happen, which is good because the next time I go to write something.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
But that
It's
sunk
gonna be
that
easier.
sunk
It's
cost
gonna be
fallacy.
easier.
That sunk cost fallacy will
or
get
like
you every
it's the same
time. Like you've spent all this time working on something, so you don't want to admit, or you don't want to feel like you've wasted that. You don't want to feel like I've done all this effort and then it's come back as, oh, we have to change a ton of shit. And like, I mean, look, in Skunkbone, we've butted heads on them, because of that. There's been times when like I've been working on something or working on the mixes, and I've done a bunch of stuff, and I'll show it to the guys, and they'll be like, no, we need to change, like, it doesn't matter that you've spent all day doing that mix. We need to change a ton of stuff. And I'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake. Or, Zach will be working on a video and he'll send it through to us, and we'll be like, like, I think it was, what was the one we had some trouble with? I think it might have been the lyric video for Velvet Sky when we did that, and stuff was coming through, and like, stuff wasn't quite in time when the lyrics were coming up and everything, and it was like, it's like, and like, I understand his pain, because then he spent so long trying to get like, he spent probably 2 days on that already, and then he's got to go back and make all these tiny little changes to stuff, and then spend all the time exporting it again and publish, doing the video, and then all that, and it's like, I get you, but we have to do this work, and it's not and learning to not take those kind of things as a personal attack, and understand that just because you've put a lot of work into it doesn't mean that it's where it needs to be. It doesn't mean that it's not deserving of more work. It's a challenge, and so many people, I mean, that's abundant across society. People think just because they put a lot of work into something, it makes it good, or it means that it's perfect, and that's not always the case, and they'll often refuse to abandon a bad idea or a bad concept simply because they've spent so much time
Of course.
Mm.
with it
And
already.
sometimes the thing's existence is to get you to the next step. You know,
Yes.
without that demo that got majority rejected, we wouldn't have the current written song that exists
Precisely.
now because of it. So the benefit of that is, well, at least at the very least, it's like that we went from talking about a song to, well, here's a first draft, to now we have something that we all like. You know,
Yes.
it's like you can't have your final product. You can't hate something if it doesn't exist, and a first draft is obviously,
It's the first
is
step.
there. It's the first step. So
Yeah.
that's sometimes what's needed, and there's usually, if you're all collaboratively on the same wavelength, majority of the time, there'll be something in there that they'll take, and it can be it
Yeah.
makes the next step easier to transition into. So
Mm.
Yeah.
so that's the benefit of collaborating with multiple people. You'll just end up with something better eventually, if you're not all insane or Roger Waters or something,
Yeah. But yeah, and that's one of the things that I think is so important, because, like you say, it's a draft. It's a step on the way to. It can be a step on the way to something better, and that ultimately that does mean that effort wasn't wasted. But I think, I mean, I know for myself, I can be consciously aware that that's the case, but then in the moment when I'm getting that criticism of what I've done, or that feedback that
Feel it
is
here.
negative,
Yeah.
it hurts, and you have to
Yeah,
fight.
sometimes. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
have to
right
you have
there.
to
That's
fight.
the one.
You have to fight that desire to take it as a personal attack, and you have to stop for a second and go, all right, just breathe for a minute.
Mm.
It's not it's not saying that you've not done the right thing or you've not done a good thing here. It's just, as it stands now, it's not what they want.
Yeah.
But
And at the end of the day, you asked for it. You asked for feedback.
yes,
Yep.
You're gonna get feedback.
precisely. So
They're just
uh,
doing their part in
Exactly
that
what
role.
you need. Exactly,
The
exactly what
big
you
thing
need.
is
Stuart was like,
when that happens, it's like, and you get taken down that peg, and you re-watch it or you re-listen to it, you're like, okay, I understand what they're saying. Because automatically it's taking you out of that personal space of, oh, I'm attached to it. It's like when you get that criticism, it pulls your head out of it, and you look at it from a different space.
yeah,
And then you go,
100%.
yes, I can
Go
fix this. Okay, now I know what they're saying. And it all sort of goes from there. Yes, Lauren, you were right about my videos. I asked for
getting a bit personal there. Right?
yeah, well, I asked for the critique, and exactly that happened. She's like, she came in with a pen and she watched your video. She had,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
pulls out a fucking folder and
yeah,
is like,
she basically
oh, I've been thinking.
she took me down the peg, and I got upset. I did. She goes, I know you can do better. And I went, oh, you and your logic.
yeah.
yeah, that one's always a kick in the guts. It's like, well, I'll fucking show you.
Yeah, and then I rewatched it, and I looked. I took it because she pulled my head out of it because I'd been working on it for 8 hours or whatever, and then automatically pulled my head out of it, and I went, okay, I know exactly what's gone wrong here, and I'm glad I didn't release it as it was.
And that's where I think, Skunkbone, we're kind of we're doing everything in house so far and not really having any external sort of producers on stuff. I'm kind of dreading when we eventually decide to take that step, because it's going to be challenging, especially having once we because we're doing the next one pretty much entirely in house too. We might get someone else to master it, but
Get someone you love. Get someone
it's
you
all
love
done-
first.
It's all being done in
ease
here.
in
So
with friends and family, because they'll let you down easy, and then once you've got that band-aid sort of half pulled off, then take it to someone you're acquainted
Who
with.
just
yeah,
stab you. Just stab
Definitely.
you repeatedly.
At least they'll
Definitely,
stab you
meeting.
from the front. There's nothing
has
worse
to
than
be
someone
fucking
will tell you that it's awesome. And,
Yeah.
and
See
then
it come.
shit.
See it come.
we'll be. I mean, I'll be interested to see what happens with the next way we go with it. But I think getting
Given your current track record, I can't imagine it'll be bad in any way. But
Well,
well,
I'm
I
gonna-
mean,
I'm gonna
I
say
had
But
some.
it'll, you know,
I heard
mean,
some of the tracks, some of the demos, and they are definitely on the right path for another banger.
how good.
yeah.
Let's go. That's
You
the
know,
way.
we'll see. We'll see. Drum tracking's been going all right. So we've got about, I think we're about 40% of the way done with drum tracking. Then we've still got to go through and do all the editing and stuff.
Oh,
But you know,
Yeah. TRIPSITTA coolers.
hey,
Let's go.
go out and get your TRIPSITTA
Coolers.
stubby coolers.
I'm actually getting a nice, healthy or probably unhealthy collection, depending on who you're talking
Dude,
to. About the
Question:
stubby.
I haven't looked too deep into your merch stuff, but do you guys sell like a TRIPSITTA Hawaiian shirt?
No.
Because that'd be like
No.
the perfect fucking thing for you guys.
Yeah.
And it sets you apart from everyone else because no one else is fucking selling them.
Yeah, when's the last time you saw a band T-shirt that was a button-up?
Yeah,
That's a very good point.
precisely.
That wasn't a baseball.
Probably-
That wasn't a jersey of some type.
Yeah.
That could.
Mm.
I
Or
want
like,
a
or like a
Hawaiian
Dickies shirt with a fucking patch sewn on. Like you'll need to get in there with some custom print TRIPSITTA, like acid fucking thing on a fucking Hawaiian shirt. You
Just
can
go
have
to
that idea. For,
Lowe's.
I was
Just
gonna
go to
say you can have
Lowe's
it
and
for
buy-
free, but no, give me like I just want a 5% cut. That's all I want. You can have that idea.
Just on the
But-
tag, it'll just say in collaboration with,
Yeah.
in like 3 font.
Raf.
Yeah, collaboration with Reverend Raff. you
Yeah.
know.
100%.
Love it. Love it.
But
That's great.
that's something that I think it's we're starting to see it a bit more. I think where because like the classic rock band thing of like the fucking black T-shirt with a logo on, it's the running joke, right? Like every fucking
Yeah.
metalhead or rock fan, you go to their T-shirts and it's just like a sea of different shades of black.
With
Um,
colorful writing about here.
Yeah,
yeah.
about here.
No idea what you're talking about, sort of.
But I think there's been, especially in the last sort of 5 years, I think I've noticed people are trying to do something different with it. You got people doing, and I mean, there's always been the sort of flip thing of the white shirt with
mean,
the
we had a
logo on it
pink
as
one.
well, but
You had a
you
pink
We got
yeah,
a pink one. Yeah.
doing
pink
doing pink ones or
No
green
one wants a
ones
pink
or
one.
shirts in other colors. Just but this is where drop shipping comes in, right? Because you can you don't may not have to do a run of shirts yourself in that color, but if you've got them as an option on a drop shipping thing, like that's what one of the things we're doing is basically once we sell out, we get a bunch of a shirt, and once we sell out of it, you can still get it if you go to the drop ship the site and order it via drop shipping.
Yeah.
But so you can still get it, but we're just not going to have them physically at the shows. And when you're doing it with drop shipping, you can put whatever colors you want,
Yeah.
which
Dropshipping's
does
a powerful thing.
it enables that a bit of variety there for people. So
Indeed.
it's definitely something that is opening up stuff in that regard.
Yeah.
But I think bands at the same time taking a risk and pushing to do something different to help them stand out that way is I think that's what needs to happen. I think more bands need to be smart about it.
100%.
You don't just want to be going out having like
been told to do heaps of weird shit.
Well,
Heaps of
this
weird
is
Yeah.
taking you
stuff.
halfway there. I mean, with that cooler, just do that on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I thought it was very tiki vibes
like
with
it.
it. Very very
Absolutely.
very in line with Paradise's vibe sort of
Mm.
deal. But the thing is as well, I still think there's a lot of room for the black T-shirt with the band logo because
I love that
Um,
T-shirt. Awesome.
way back in the day, in my first band, we actually did a run of shirts, and we had them in white. We started with white, and the first thing that someone said to us was, "Do you have them in black?" So, everyone was like, "Do you have them in black?" And we're like, "No, we were trying to be different." They're like, "Yeah, well."
Don't-
and that's
It's
that's
different.
part of
Don't
the
make your
stigma.
money.
That's part of
You
the
know.
stigma. Like
don't
I
be
think
different. Fuck you.
people need to break out of that.
Yeah.
And when every band does the t-shirts in black with the logo on, that's what people are going to expect. But the more people are pushing the boundaries of that and expanding outside of that, I think the more accepted it'll become.
Yeah,
but
100%. Like,
it's just a matter of a culture shift
Mm.
needs to happen with it.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely
But-
like, I guess in our scene, there's, when you've got your sort of upbeat rock music that we do, and the more folky vibes, I guess more colors are definitely accepted, but definitely in Skunk Boom's realm, and metal and onwards, it's like everyone's like, my favorite color is black.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I like
I have
grays.
5 in black and 5 in slightly darker black.
Yeah.
This one's charcoal. Like,
Well, I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Look, I love me metal, but I'm always the guy at the metal show that'll wear a white t-shirt or a different color t-shirt.
up the dude that shows up in red. That's always a bold guy.
I have a red House
Full
of
red.
Neptune shirt now.
Red pants, red sunnies, red fucking boxing gloves. It's ready to fucking throw hands.
Oh man,
Straight to the crowd kill section, ready to go.
no, I don't go. I watch them shows. I don't go to them shows. I don't participate in those mosh pits.
Oh, I'm definitely a back of the crowd with a beer kind of folk when it comes with that stuff, because I'm fragile.
Oh, it
Fragile.
depends on the band. Like if it's like like a new metal band, I'm in the pit. I'm in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm in
mean,
there.
sometimes the riff is, it'd be rude not to.
Yeah.
The
Try
riff,
and
the
hurt
riff
your
requires it.
Yeah, it's like, I went.
The riff demands it.
It does.
When was the last DZ Death Rays I saw at Felon's Brewery a few years back, and that was my first sort of heavier show, I guess, that had a actual mosh pit, if you would call it that. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll see what this is all about. I got straight in there, and shouldn't have worn new shoes that night, tell you that.
Oh,
But
no.
That's a rookie error.
yeah, but a couple beers in, and I'm pretty sure
They ain't
my
new
ankle went a
anymore.
different way. I'm
It's a
pretty
cool way
sure
to
my
break
ankle
'em
went a
in.
different way at some point. But
That went
yeah,
full
no,
hours already.
definitely. They were not.
I'll be
They
back in
were
1 sec.
brand new Vans, and they weren't after that show. They were definitely.
Ah.
They looked like veteran gigging shoes, but it's kind of a vibe.
But
It's
that's
kind
the
of a
thing.
vibe.
I mean, even like anyone that hasn't gone to watch my gym night video, shameless plug now. Go watch them. Go watch them both. Day one had
They're great.
TRIPSITTA on it. Everything that you actually hear on those videos is live sound directly from what I was recording with, which was my phone. You're the next level. You had easily the best sound out of the whole weekend, in my opinion. You guys
You
absolutely
did a good job.
Oh, mate, Scotty did a mad job.
That man has more patience than any of us will ever have as a person.
Yeah.
If you're doing 30
100%.
bands in 2 days worth of sound with people that have anywhere between 1 to like 7 people in their lineup, that is.
Yeah.
I would have shot someone by like hour 6 probably,
Yeah.
but
Bro,
he
some of the stories you have at
persevered.
the end of the festival, fucking hilarious. That Sunday night, the chats I had with him, he was just like, as soon as he pulled that cable and he was like, no more sound, he was like, hey Jack, come here, I want to chat to you about some bands. I was like, all right.
Oh, don't upset the sound guy, people. I'll tell you what, especially
No.
Scotty, mate.
Yeah.
Especially Kev.
They
don't upset
they
Kev.
will sabotage your set. They don't care.
Yeah,
They,
well,
they,
at the
they
end of the
don't
day,
care.
at the end of the day, you get up there and play, but they gotta make the sound come out those beautiful speakers that they set up.
Yeah.
You know.
Half
We've
the battle,
all- we've all-
baby. It's half the battle. You make the
we've-
noise, he's gonna make the sound
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
We've all
Absolutely.
seen the band that takes, a little bit too long to sound check. Personally, actually, to the detriment of our set previously. We're not going to drop names here, but it was at a previous festival that we did, and it made our
You're lucky
headlining
he
set,
was on the chat. You're
20
lucky he was on the
minutes.
chat. He would-
Oh
he would-
wow.
and it was and we had done a sound check earlier that day because they wanted us
in the
to
morning.
the morning,
In
so
the
we sat around
morning.
all day waiting for this set, and the
Wow.
first people that went on before us took 30 minutes to sound check, and we were the guys that got cut because of it. So if anyone from a band is watching right now, get up on stage, do exactly what the soundy says, trust their word
Wait.
because it is God, and fucking play, and then get off stage as quick as you can.
Yeah, that is
That's
so
it. It's
true.
all you have to do. It's
These
all you have to do.
People literally work in that space all the time. They know how to make you sound good.
Yeah. If anything, just start playing,
Yeah.
and they'll
When it-
immediately know how to dial levels in once you actually start playing. Because that's another thing. If they go, give me some bass, play with the same velocity and the same endurance as if you were playing notes that you're going to be playing for the next 45 minutes. Because otherwise,
You're gonna
they're just going to go. They're either going to turn you down or they're going to turn you up. And you obviously want to be on the best starting ground as you can. Minor adjustments, you want to just focus on the set rather than every second song going, can I get more bass in my monitors, please? And the sound guy going, fuck off.
Yeah, another thing is too, a lot of people got to take into consideration that we're deaf. So when you're standing there asking for more on the monitor and the sound guy's going, I can't give you any more, man, we're going to start getting feedback or something.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance you have hearing loss, my friend.
Or your EQ dialing is absolute shithouse.
Yeah.
Hot tip, guitarists, turn your mids up and your bass and treble down. Bassists, turn your bass up if you're in an open room, and if you're in a closed room, sounds weird, but turn your bass down. You'll often find that you don't have to do nothing like crazy.
So how have you actually
You
found,
automatically-
like after that little comment about the whole people taking long, how have you actually found the festival scene with the festivals that you guys have played? Like a lot of, have you found there are a lot of, not expecting you to name drop or anything like that, are there a lot of inconsiderate bands that are just like airy fairy that just don't pay attention?
It comes from two worlds.
There's like some bands that haven't like learnt the lesson, if that makes sense. They haven't learnt the lesson, if that makes sense. Like they haven't had the sound. You go, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
no one's like that. It probably more the fact that it probably hasn't happened to them.
And
Yeah.
You know,
it comes from
they haven't
it
been
comes from two
inconvenienced
sides of
by
the
another
coin.
band yet. You know what I mean? Like
Comes-
if that happens to you, then you're gonna get that inconvenience. Then you're gonna learn that lesson for sure. Like you're gonna be like, why did our set get cut? Because what reason? What happened? Then you'll find out. Oh well, you'll talk to the sounding, and the sound will be like, yeah, well, we had a time limit of midnight or 1 p.m.
delays.
1 a.m. We had delays.
Yeah.
And be like, what do you mean what delays? You're like, yeah, bands just taking way too long to sound check, and then you start to realize, oh, how can I speed up my time on stage?
Back ref.
How can I speed up my thing? I'm like, well, for me, I basically got everything plugged in, ready to go, straight away. I have because I'm running all these delays and harmony pedals, all that kind of stuff. If I did it chord by chord, it would take me 20 minutes.
100%.
It would take me 20 minutes by myself just set up. You don't have that time. You have max 15-minute changeover time, even less. 10 minutes you should be aiming for. And if you can get your 10 minutes, you should be up there, plugged in, and by the time he goes, I need to hear kick, you should be already done.
Yeah, you should be set up and waiting for the sound guy to be ready for you.
Well, that's it.
but-
I mean, and realistically, when they say a 15-minute changeover, like 5 minutes of that's the other band getting their shit off stage.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And that's why I swear to God, if I fucking play and that the band before us finishes and I see motherfuckers standing on stage, casually coiling their cables up, carefully
Bundle it up,
putting their
get it
things
off
back on,
stage.
I'm like, literally, like you see me fucking finish a set, I just roughly, quickly, just as quickly as I can, just throw all the shit on top of my pedal board, pick that up,
and get
walk off
it
stage,
out.
come back,
Yeah,
get
get the
my
fuck out
fucking
there.
guitars off stage, then maybe my cameras if we got cameras on there.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's like, it's just get your shit off stage and then do it neatly afterwards.
Yeah.
You need to get fucking off stage so that the next motherfuckers can start setting their shit up because it takes them a lot more time to set things up and run cables than it does for you to get the fuck off stage.
100%. And the other thing too is, sorry, the other thing too is with especially I've noticed with bands too, and we're all guilty of it, right? So especially in the festival scene, a lot of the festivals we've played, 9 times out of 10, there'll be at least a couple of bands there where that is their first festival. It's probably the biggest crowd they've ever played to, and they really want to obviously sound the best because they don't want to sound shit because they want to make an impression of to the crowd of we sound great. Please go look at our music so we can do this more because you're excited to play. And I get that, but there's the other thing of, you also people just don't know the especially when it comes to big lineups like that where there's like 20, 30 bands playing over 2 days. They're just that excited to play and make sure that they sound the absolute best that they obviously forget that there are other bands playing that day or there's anyone after them. They just want to provide that rock concert experience that they've been dreaming about doing since they first picked up their Squire Telly, 10 years ago. The thing is though, it's you'll definitely learn very quickly that is, you
So you make
your
enemies of
tones-
Sandys.
yeah, your tones, like people, especially with you get guitarists who are definitely obviously more guilty of it than most of the times, and that's your tone doesn't mean shit. The sound is gonna probably EQ half of it out anyways to make you actually be audible. So get up there, turn your volume up till the soundy says stop. If it doesn't sound like complete garbage to you, that's probably good enough because most people in the audience aren't gonna appreciate that Klon Centaur that you've paid thousands of dollars for in the sweet spot, getting that perfect mid hump that you need. It's like get on stage, play that shit, get off stage, have
Talk
fun
about
doing it.
afterwards. Because everyone's
Yeah.
going to come
Also-
up to you afterwards going, what pedal did you use, man?
Like,
They're not going to do it.
yeah,
good.
then you can talk about that stuff.
Klon Centaurs are overpriced.
Oh, 100%.
No one. The only people that care is other people with Klon Centaurs.
100%.
Get yourself
and
a
that's
clone.
coming-
Get yourself a clone and be done with it.
100%. And that's coming from a dude who, who I like. Admittedly, the Klon Centaur overdrive sound is one of my favorites, just in general.
Agreed.
And all it
It's
is
a great
mid.
sound.
It's just a mid-humped, nice headroomy, gainy thing, right? It's cool. That's some nerdy
Yes.
shit there. But go buy your Wampler Tumnus or go get your eBay kit. 9 times out of 10, it's gonna sound
Yes.
90% bang on, and the rest of the 10% is going to be inaudible to anyone who isn't a
To
gear
hear.
nerd.
The clones.
I took
The clones are just as good. I actually
100%.
saw the other day. I saw there's a new clone that has been released. A new clone that's been released that apparently is all basically indistinct. Like even in very very carefully set up A/B tests, people with very discerning ears can't really tell the difference.
I'm an advocate
So,
personally for the Wampler Tumnus, which is
Mm.
and it is tiny. It's actually
I've heard that one talked about before. Yeah.
here it is right here at my feet. This little fella right here is $250 because it's handmade by a dude in the States, Wampler Pedals. He's awesome. And that is your $10,000 pedal right freaking there. It's people have literally lost blind tests to this thing. So gear hype doesn't mean shit. If it gets a sound, it gets a sound. If it gets close to the sound, whatever. I've had similar
Right.
results with your tube screamers from the 80s. People pay thousands of dollars for. I've got a Mua or whoever the hell you make that thing, Green Mile Overdrive. It's a tube screamer. It cost me $50. Like it does the same shit. I took the stage of Gymna with my one and only bass, which is a Squire jazz bass from like the early 2000s that I think cost the dude I bought it off like $80, and I haven't done shit to it except get it set up. I haven't heard anyone come up and say, "Your bass tone sucks, dude. What the hell was that?" It's a lot of hype. You got to
Yeah,
debunk those myths.
Well, look, like I said, look, it's true though. It's not until you really walk off the stage that people are interested in your gear. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
like,
100%.
Like at the end of the day, you could have this amazing pedal board, had nothing hooked up to it, and people will come up and ask you what's going on afterwards. I mean,
Yeah.
it's-
That
Bro, one of my vocals is one of my delays is legit a guitar delay.
Yeah. All my
Use
bass
what
pedals
works.
are guitar pedals.
use
All
what
I do
works.
What?
That clone I was mentioning. It's the Warm Audio Centavo, is the latest one that I've
Oh,
seen.
yeah, sick.
Like the case looks same style, same like gold
Oh,
box
yeah.
kind of thing. It's
Actually
it's
an
very much mimicking
inconveniently
the look
sized pedal.
as well. Right? Like
It's-
we got one. I got this fucking pedal for Corey that's basically going to be our. We're sort of building the Skunk Bone album around this guitar tone, and it's modeled off a. It's basically like a modernized take on the classic, Big Muff, but you can turn everything essentially up to 12 in terms of how crazy you can get with it. But because it's that style of pedal, the box is like this fucking big.
100%.
And I'm like, and then you open it up, you're like, the circuit doesn't need to be that fucking big.
No,
Like,
well, that's why.
make it a small pedal. Make it a small
I guess
pedal.
that's why EHX, like, they actually make the nano versions of their big muffs, and they sound identical and all that. I mean, and in terms of like the whole using a big muff, to turn it to 11, like you just go look at the Smashing Pumpkins. I think they had most of the time it was a JCM 800, which is like Marshall's modern plexi from the 80s and onwards. That is usually just, you can honestly get pretty good gain sound just out of that alone, and then Billy puts a big muff in front of it and does more, and you've got that tone. It's rad as fuck, but it's not unachievable with your MGFX that you've got from the shop, that that's your solid state amp and a muff style distortion.
For studio stuff, you can get a bit more pedantic about it, right? But for
Oh,
on stage at a
100%.
gig, on stage at a gig, near enough's good enough, because
On a-
the
Audio
audience
engineer
is not
takes
going to be.
control, man. Audio
In the
engineer at the end
ballpark's
of the
good enough for
day-
live shit.
He's gonna touch stuff like I remember telling him about the delay and like the harmonies, and I even heard him like add extra delay in some parts, and then he added extra reverb in some parts that were on top of the stuff that I already had.
Yeah.
So you're gonna change shit. People are
Put it
gonna
this
add
way.
stuff. Good sound, he will add more stuff and make your set even bigger than it already is.
Put it this way too: of the
If
four
they know what they're
TRIPSITTA
doing, then
tracks,
they should. Yeah.
I know
of
they're
the
doing.
4 TRIPSITTA tracks that are coming out this year, my bass and none of my pedals are on any of those tracks. They handed me something in the studio that they knew was going to sound good. All my distortion sound. I run a DS1 for distortion live, which is I added
Look, nothing wrong with
I
it.
add in the
Nothing
low.
wrong
I
with
add in the
DS1.
low end back with a GE7, like a EQ pedal that I just bump the bass things back up to get that low end back in. That's great live, but obviously in a studio, they handed me a Fender P bass, and then they loaded up plugins for pedals, and that was a better sound. Like in the studio, definitely you can be more pedantic, because that's obviously something that people are going to pay close attention to and can hear the difference. Which I 100% respect, which is why AC/DC them, like they have plexis that they have, which is in the amp. They have plexis that are exclusively for studio, and they have plexis that get blown up on stage. Things are kept pristine. That's the same thing. It's a different world, but definitely in the live context, guitarists, bassists, vocalists, even drummers. Well, less so actually. Drummers do actually have to worry about their sound a bit more. But stop giving too much of a fuck about what's at your feet. If it gets the sound, it gets the sound. Sound is gonna turn you down half the time because you're too loud.
Well, you talk about AC/DC like that. I think Fieldy does from Korn did the same thing. Like he's got a bass that they literally. I saw in a documentary. They like
It doesn't leave.
It's like this is. It's like this is it. This is the bass. This is like he literally only ever gets it out when they're doing recording, and then it's back in storage. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't see the light of day except for recording, which is I mean, hey, if we can all get to that stage of in our music careers where we're able to do that, fucking sweet.
100%.
But yeah, so there's just people definitely need to worry.
People get way too
less.
invested in their gear, and they stop playing, which is the old classic gear acquisition syndrome, which is if I just buy this new pedal, I'll suddenly be better at playing the guitar, or I'll be better at playing the bass. It's like, no, dude. That 4 hours you just spent watching A/B comparisons on YouTube, you could have been running the thing you're trying to play, or running the scales, And I'm guilty of it. Like behind me is my collection of shit that I've spent way too much money on, but it's
But I mean, look,
But it's fun.
I get where you're coming from. I mean, I will say, w- no piece of gear is going to make someone a better player.
No,
Flat out, never going to happen.
100%.
Sometimes, and but I will say there is something to be said for the right instrument that makes you more passionate about playing and makes playing feel easier.
Oh, 100%. That I'll
I
agree with to the
absolutely had that. Like,
forever.
I had kind of, I'd started to acquire after I moved up, over the last few years, some, we'll say dream bases, right? The kind of bases that I'd always wanted to own, but they were always kind of a bit out of my price range. And I'm like, well, I need to put the money into other things and whatever. Once I kind of got this place and moved up here, I was like, right, I've got a little bit of money I can splash on some of these dream pieces of equipment, these kind of, bases I've looked at for a long time. And so I picked up the P bass, I picked up the jazz bass,
Yeah.
and I picked up a Aria, like a 1974 Aria, like Rickenbacker or fake, clone.
Is it an Aria
fucking-
Pro 2?
Yeah, one of those Aria Pro 2s.
That line is so good. I have one of the Les Pauls from the
It's-
80s, and they are worth
It's
every dollar.
amazing. Like it's yeah, and I'd kind of had given up on. All right, yeah, there's all these amazing basses, and yes, they're good to play, and it's nice to have a professional piece of equipment in my hands.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's a slight bit of disappointment because you're kind of like, oh,
This is
I kind of
nice,
felt like
but it's
I felt like a playing would feel different on this.
yeah.
And then I got the Ernie Ball Music Man Stingray 5.
Everyone
And
raves on about those.
That was the new ones that are like the new generation ones that are super light. And that was the moment, like I picked it up and I'm like, oh, okay, this is the thing. This is what it feels like. Because it really is like it's so much, it feels so much easier to play what I want to play
Definitely.
on that bass. It's a lot lighter. It just playing feels smoother on it, and so there's the right piece of the right instrument that makes you more passionate about playing absolutely exists.
100%.
But
Yeah.
the piece of gear that will make you good obviously is a myth. That I think too many
And
people fall into.
I'll sort of add on to that with obviously feel of an instrument is probably is like you said, probably the most important thing. If the guitar or the bass feels like it's fighting you when you're trying to play it,
Yes.
it may as well be worthless. I've had that with guitars that I bought because I thought they were going to be good because they looked good or they were of a certain price point, and you get it and you're like you try and convince yourself that this is great, but in all honesty it feels like shit to play. And I definitely think feel is the most important part, because sound can be, you can always get a great feeling guitar, and if it's on the cheaper spectrum you can always swap the pickups out later, and then you've got your professional sound. But if the thing stays in tune and it's got a nice neck on it, and you can reliably do your job on this thing, then I've seen people have that with they found a Squire Strat that just happened to have out of the factory a really nice neck, and then they go and hot rod all the hardware around it, and then they've got something that plays better than an off the shelf 2021 American Ultra Stratocaster. Often you'll find that yes, it's easier to get into a quality control standards if you go up in higher price instruments, like one of the things is the fret sprouts, like the metal on the neck, like sticking out over the things. That
That's
stuff
what you're
can
paying
be
for. That's what
you
you're
can
paying
pay
for
for
when
that
you buy
stuff
high
to
end.
go
Is
away.
the quality control, the quality of materials,
Yeah.
and the quality control
Cannot,
is
cannot
exactly
do
what you're
anything
paying for
about
when
a
you
neck
get
you
higher
don't
end.
like.
Yeah,
Other than
100%.
Other than unbolting, if you have a neck through body, you can. You might get lucky and be able to detach it, but then you got to change truss rods and
Yeah.
yuck.
But the thing is too, there's also the thing of like sometimes you can actually like wear in an instrument as well. But it's obviously a better time if you start off running with something that is better. Like that there behind me is like in this part right here. That's a proper Gibson Les Paul. Got that for my 18th birthday I have a rather large extended family, and they all pitched in, which is the only reason this exists. I didn't ask for it. I said I want a better guitar from my Magnum Strat copy, and they went straight for that. So that's awesome, and I'm very thankful for that instrument. But that thing felt like shit for the longest time to play,
Really?
and that's a $5,500 instrument, and it felt awful to play. The fret inlays fell out of it because Gibsons don't like Australian climate, and I've had to work to make that thing feel nice. I've got it set up countless times in different specs and all that to make it feel good, because I'm not giving up on that instrument because it's special to me.
Yeah.
But going back to the Aria Pro, I walk into Tim's Guitars a few years ago when he still had a shop. I picked that thing off the wall. It played fantastic. $600
Yeah.
later, it's mine. You know.
Yeah, check it
It's-
out.
it's-
I replaced the white plates with black. Hang on, let me see if I can get this on the fucking thing. So you see it up there. So I replaced the white plates on it with the black ones. Because I'm like I just love the look of the black fucking plates on there, especially with that sunburst with the black plates, because you don't see that usually. It's got the white on it. So I think that gives it a unique look as well. Yeah, it's what you said. Like you can
make an instrument your own, definitely.
you absolutely
Once you buy
can.
it, you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. The only thing I don't...
Yeah.
Has that Gibson got that real D-shaped neck? That real...
So that is. So here it is. That's the 2016 Les Paul like it's like they called it the standard, but it was like in that year they had this is the first run that had like your chambered body to not make it weigh 300 pounds. It's got the the asymmetrical neck on it, so that part actually is really good. But it's the fretboard itself was actually very. I've had to do a lot of noodling to make that wear in to feel nice, but the sound out of it is obviously fantastic. That you can't knock that. Like you said, it is a beautiful guitar. But I've had to really beat the crap out of this to get it to a point where I could comfortably go on stage with it, which is, well, this was the main guitar when I was a front man in Pelican Moon days, and it was great. But then, Mitchell, who is our guitarist now of TRIPSITTA, who used to be in Pelican Moon, he goes and buys, like an LTD for way less money than this, and it plays great right off the bat. And it's like, that's where you go. That's the moment where you go, you don't have to spend that to get that,
like anything, cars, anything, this statement, at some point they become statement pieces. Like, so you can say, I have a Gibson Les Paul.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
And I wouldn't, if that wasn't bought for me, I wouldn't own one.
Yeah. Like
and especially these days, the way the market's going, and there's a lot, the barrier to entry is getting a lot lower. And yes, like there's a lot
100%.
of super dodgy, like no-name fucking pieces, no-name things out there. They just pump it out for like fucking $50 and sell it for $200, and away they go. But
went from gear,
dudes
talk music to dudes talk gear.
Bands that were brands that were traditionally seen as no good, or like that were like, they're like, oh, Squire, like, Squire's reputation now, the stuff that they're putting out these days compared to what it used to be.
Yeah,
like,
Squire used to be pretty
the
dingy.
quality overall has drastically improved.
It's called an X-Court. X-Court. It's a Korean
X-Court.
brand. It's like, this thing would be, jeez, I got this on my, 16th birthday. So I was nearly 21 years old. And I just pulled it out.
Bro.
The other day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Get it.
All right. Well, let's why don't we
Epiphone's
go to
also
yes,
up their game recently.
Yeah,
I would
and
buy a
and
brand new.
they've upped their price
Epiphone.
point too. They've upped their price point too with a lot of stuff, but
their
the
quality.
name
I'd
Epiphone
say-
is no longer like, oh, it's an Epiphone. It's like you can get an Epiphone and it's fucking perfectly fucking like international bands are touring with Epiphone branded stuff now.
Yeah, well, was it Matt Heafy of Trivium
Yep.
has had his custom Epiphone. Jared James Nichols, who's like a bluesy kind of guy, he plays
Yeah.
without a pick. He's got an Epiphone. The Beatles were the original
Doesn't AC/DC
hipsters using
use
Epiphones. No, they are Gibson
No,
guys
they're
through and through. They are the boomers'
Oh,
best advertisement for purchasing
Yeah.
really expensive gear. It's like, if I want to sound good, I've got to get a 71 cherry red Gibson SG, and I've got to have a 100-watt hand-wired Marshall Plexi head that I'll never get to turn up past 2, and then I'll be able to play Thunderstruck. it's like it's bullshit, you know. I have a Plexi, but it's the 20-watt version, and I've modded the crap out of it. But
All right.
that's only because I like that sound.
Let's bring it round. Let's go to our segments.
Yes.
We've been doing here.
Too much of a
If Kyle's
ten-
ready, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
ready.
we got
Well,
we got to put a
beer
cap
there.
on this discussion. Otherwise, we'll keep going like for another 5 hours, and I can't. Like my
100%.
girlfriend will get mad.
This is what I was talking about. It was like the best part of gymnast, just watching people fucking nerd out, watching grown men nerd
Yeah.
the fuck out. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Gotta.
All right. So yes, Kyle, please, if you would.
Quick
Hit the
question,
thing.
quarter time.
Da. Hey. All right. So, for those who are watching us for the first time, welcome to the Quick Question Quarter, spelled with Q's, not K's, because we don't roll like that. This is the Quick Question Quarter, where we run through a bunch of rapid-fire questions for our esteemed guests, starting out easy and getting a little bit trickier as we get towards the end. But the whole point of this is that we get to know, so that we and the viewers get to know the guests a little bit better. So, without further ado, let's kick it right off. What was the first instrument that you ever learned how to play?
A really cheap ass Casio keyboard.
Nice. Mine was acoustic guitar that broke 2 weeks into learning. So then I was given an electric guitar from my dad's mate, and then I've played that ever since.
Wonderful, wonderful. What was the first album that you ever purchased?
Nirvana's greatest
Oh.
hits.
Nice.
JB Hi-Fi had a 3 for 10, like $10 CD, or you get buy two get one free.
Yeah.
I bought the Gorillaz singles hits. I bought Nirvana's greatest hits, but I picked up the Nirvana one first, and then complete left field, Notorious B.I.G.'s greatest hits, because greatest hits albums are fantastic if you are a dude who
That's a
doesn't
strong
have the money to
collection of
deep dive.
songs right there.
Yeah,
I
that was my
remember
rotation
it was
for a long time.
Triple J Big Day Out came to my country town of Ayr, and I bought the album for that, and it was just all these amazing artists. Oh, it was fucking
Can
crazy.
you
I
remember
spending
roughly
like
who was on it? What year it was?
it was 20.
Oh, it's gotta
Fuck,
be-
I was so young. I think it was
No,
in
you
grade
weren't.
like
No, you weren't.
I
3.
was like, don't you
Two or
fucking
three.
say it.
Was it that
You
long
said-
ago?
Bro, it was a long time ago, man. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of really, really good bands. I remember just listening to that non-stop on a cassette. No, not a cassette. On a Walkman for ages.
Wow.
Sick.
It was
Wow.
amazing.
What was the first live concert you attended?
Not the Wiggles.
That's not like the Wiggles or any of that
Okay.
kid stuff.
For me, if you don't count like a lot of my uncle's sort of local music, sort of local bashes that you'd get dragged to sometimes as a kid with a bunch of dudes doing Brown Eyed Girl for 3 hours. First original artist that came to Australia that I went and saw was AC/DC.
Nice.
Okay. Good.
That was their 2016 tour, I think. No, 2014 for Rock or Bust. Whatever Rock or Bust tour was, that was the one. That was fucking sick.
Mine
Wow.
was a jazz fest up in Townsville that came from like Brisbane and Sydney, and they had all these massive big horn bands with like massive like funk singers and funk guitar players and all these amazing different just instrumentalists just going, and they'd have these big fat jams for like hours on end. And I remember sitting there under this tent for hours with my parents just watching, and my jaw was just like the whole time. I think it's probably one of the reasons I probably got into it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was
That's
probably like
awesome.
a similar vein, probably like, you know, while AC/DC was the first concert, like a lot of those jams you got dragged to, there was a few outliers in there that you're like, oh, I want to be able to do that one day.
I want to do that.
A lot of people.
I want to
a lot
jam.
of people
What's
jamming
what's
out.
an, what's an instrument that you've always wanted to learn but haven't had the opportunity to yet?
I
I've
feel
always
like
wanted to
it'd be-
play the violin. I reckon violin
Oh,
for
yeah.
me.
That's
Mhm.
cool.
Probably pretty fiddle.
Sitar for me. I'd love to be able to jam out on a sitar.
Y'all need a sitar. You need to get a fucking sitar
Way
happening
to
from you
think
guys.
outside, but pressed right up against that box.
Yeah, like I'm really thinking TRIPSITTA needs a sitar. So
Yes.
next
Yes.
next
Totally
festival
agree.
city, let's fork out and get me one, and I'll learn it. I'll learn it.
I want you.
Done.
If not the sitar, I know there's a guitar you can get that mimics the sound.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to be on the on the rags, on the ground,
Oh, yeah,
pillows, and
sitting
full
cross-legged
yeah.
with the whole thing,
Yeah,
and the
full
incense
going
smoke
at it.
rising around you and everything.
100%. It has to be, you know, it has to
Alright.
be that.
Authentic.
All right, run a GoFundMe campaign for the band to get you a sitar. I think that's.
Get the
Yeah,
bass
okay.
so he can stop, so he can do something else.
All right, so now this next question, I'll do a qualifier on it. So, if you could pick one big band or artist to open a show for, now this is anyone. So like, you know, if you could change the laws of space time, so okay, any band, living or dead, active or not, whatever era you prefer. If you could pick one big artist or band to open a show for, who would it be?
White Album Beatles.
Ooh, very nice.
That would have been a tour.
If they were actually playing live at that point, that would be definitely sick.
Yeah.
Man,
I would-
if you were playing your shit with them, you'd be fucking blowing people's
In
minds.
India, yeah, for the
Oh
White
man,
Album.
Yeah.
you wouldn't come back.
No, you wouldn't.
No.
No, you wouldn't come back the same person. That's
No.
No way.
I would love to, I guess, like the more realistic answer would have been like something like the White Stripes would be sick to go on, like to open up for. Bonus answer would be literally be any set in like the '69 Woodstock lineup, like just that would have been lit, you know.
I feel like that's bending the rules a little bit, but I'll allow it.
You said space-time continuum allows
Yeah,
for
yeah.
it.
You're supporting a band, like not that's the point of the question. But I'll
Well,
give you that.
okay. Well,
I'll
then
give you that.
any Black Sabbath
All right.
concert would be sick.
All right. Cool.
From Great Britain.
Who is a band or artist that you're listening to at the moment that you believe is seriously underrated?
Alt J.
Alt J.
Underrated.
Alt J.
Alt J.
That's
Alt J.
Alt
I
J.
don't know what an Alt J is, but I'm going to find out.
You don't know LJ?
Yeah.
That's
Is that
okay.
Breeze Blocks, Left Hand Free,
Yeah.
Fitz Pleasure? That's the ones.
Yeah.
All right, give them a follow.
Underrated.
I once again have two answers, but they're quick ones. The first one is Greta Van Fleet, of all bands. They started out being a Led Zeppelin clone, but their last couple of albums, they've come into their own sound, and I think they need a lot more attention because it's very original. And then in a local band sense, and I've said this before, Bonsai Bay is absolutely killer. You'd probably dig the song Jog On Monkey Brains, which isn't the newest, but it's the last one they released.
Just from the
And,
name of that song, I would fucking yeah.
but then they,
Brains.
yeah,
like
and then they
that.
also have the newest one's Curbside Sofa, which is pretty good too. But yeah, that's the local band that I've always clung to. They're really, 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 really cool, really original.
Bonsai
Very
Bay.
cool.
Awesome.
Bonsai
All
Bay.
right. All right. What is something that people may be surprised to learn about you?
Jack, you can go first on that one while I think of my answer.
Right.
I'll throw you under the bus for that one.
Fuck.
Yeah, they're starting to get tricky now.
Something that people wouldn't know about me.
I guess your line of work is a bit like,
Oh yeah, I'm a music therapist. I'm a music therapist for
Okay.
work by trade. I don't know if that's a thing people wouldn't guess,
So,
but yeah, music therapist.
what does that sort of entail?
So exactly what you think. So basically, we get people in from broad ranges of spectrums of disabilities, blind, deaf, paraplegics, MS, all the way to mental illnesses to Alzheimer's, right? So it's all about like treating them in different ways to either set goals with them or help. For example, people with Alzheimer's. Will come in and just shaking and scared, for example. Um, and then if you have the information and you have the know-how and the knowledge and the understanding of music enough, you can make that person talk. You can make that person jump around the room and have like one of the best days of his life that he's had in many, many years.
Because,
And that kind of stuff.
Because music activates different parts of the brain, right? So
And
it's
makes new
plays.
neural pathways. Listen
Yes.
to it, especially new music or old music makes neural pathways. So it reawakens the brain. People, especially with Alzheimer's stuff like that. Or for example, we have a client, won't say his name, but he's blind, he's deaf, he is paralyzed completely, can't walk, can't talk. Has been like that since birth. And basically, how he hears music is through vibrations. So we have him on like wooden floors and run subs with very low frequencies and run through so he can feel them. And the
Kinda wiggles,
amazement in his face, bro, just like he'll have this like the wiggles on his back, and he'll just like we'll be putting on like for example like trance music or a lot of bush stuff because it's got very very low frequencies, and he can feel that through his whole body, and that like changes his whole entire like existence. For him to be able to like feel music in any way or touch, so he can feel touch, so you can touch him. But I could none of us can even imagine what that would be like in a normal day. You can't see, you can't talk, you can't communicate, you can't eat. You have to wear a diaper. All that kind of stuff.
It'd be like living in a sensory deprivation tank, like permanently.
100%,
Prison with your
100%.
own
Like, and
body.
that's your 100%. And but to see how that reacts to them is like one of the most beautiful things. And then basically my job is to make reports and have like 12-week programs with them and help them grow and achieve goals and communication and understanding and develop these skills, because music has a way of really just opening people up.
That's awesome.
Like,
That's so good,
you
man.
can be a locked up person and it really just blows a hole through you.
It's so good to see that they're finally seriously looking at the therapeutic acts of music and what the capabilities it has to all types of people.
Well, if you can see what it does for you, imagine what it does for someone who doesn't have the benefits of other stimulus. So that's something I'm definitely
I love it.
in awe of Jack for doing. To to jump into sort of my side of the question, I guess I'll just do my line of work as well, which is a bit unconventional myself. I work in a hydroponics store.
Okay.
I sell hydroponic equipment, and I love gardening. So that's the the
Gardening.
most.
No,
No,
he
I
loves
actually do love gardening. I really love actual gardening. I'm a massive chili fan.
I love growing. I love
chilies.
growing plants, especially a very specific plant.
Yeah, chili
Uh,
plants actually. I really love chilies.
Really?
Yes, I
Have you-
really love chilies.
You got any of them ghost
If
peppers?
you didn't know
got
about that video that we
any of those really
in
crazy
that
ones?
video,
I
you seen those
well,
ones?
my hottest
Yeah,
one that
those
I grow currently is the Butch Tea Scorpion, rated at about 1.5 million Scoville.
I love chili, but
It's brutal. You can't use it in a lot of things. If you want to use it, you have to dehydrate it, turn it into a powder, and then add it very sparingly to things like bolognese. And it has a flavor that if you dial it in right, it is amazing. But if you overdo it, you will kill your family. So it's
that like
it's
the
towing
shit-
the line.
So okay, I went.
Fucking
I like
poisonous.
spicy shit. Like I like
I know.
spicy shit, right?
I know.
But I was at the Royal Easter
Yeah.
Show
Mm.
like a year or two before I moved up from Sydney. And if you like chilies, you're probably familiar with Australian Chili Factory.
Yeah.
They have a stall there at the Royal Easter Show every year,
Oh yeah.
and you can try the
All their
different
stuff.
stuff.
Their pastes and
And
whatnot. They
they've
do.
they had their one there that's like, because obviously they've got their like 1 to 10 range, which is their standard ones, and then they kind of got like 10 plus, 10 plus plus. Then they got like 15,
Sort
and
of
then like 25 out of 10 basically
sign a
rated
waiver
stuff.
before having it. Sort of
Almost,
deal.
yeah. And like I tried that 25 out of 10. Just like it was like literally like a little bit, like not even the size of a grain of rice on one of the things. It had me fucked up. I was like,
Oh
for like
yeah, it
20
will.
minutes, I was like, nah, I can't. Fuck.
So
I
the
was like,
thing that
it just
people
kept getting stronger.
the thing that people don't tell you about eating really spicy food, and it's gonna sound like an absolute no-brainer once I say it, if it's something you haven't considered before, but they've built up the tolerance
Yeah.
by not just going straight for the spiciest shit. You won't get anywhere by going, I want to eat more spicy stuff. I'm gonna go get the hottest vindaloo I can fucking find and jam it in my gob until I pass out. You have to start with, like, if your spice tolerance is here, you need to start with a sliver of like raw chili on your tongue, like the weakest one you have, like your red chili, until
Yeah.
you can handle that, and you move up and up and
And
up and
work
up
your
and
way
up.
up.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, now I can comfortably eat those big red long cayenne peppers like capsicum. Like, there no issues there. And I'm working through things like
Yeah.
I'm working through your jalapenos and above. My personal favorite chili is the bird's eye. I find it's the best sort of balance between spice and flavor. There are unique flavors, like the scorpions, as I mentioned before, have like a barbecuey thing that you just don't get from other chilies. But you have to be able to not feel that spice to actually get that flavor. It's like people who drink whiskeys and taste whiskeys. If you could get handed a $500 bottle of whiskey today, unless you're already a whiskey enjoyer, shot it and be like, that tastes like every fucking straight spirit I've ever had in my life. Why do you
Yeah.
do this? But a person who tastes it is going to get the
Yeah,
"Oh, this
yeah. They're
has-
gonna get
this has
familiar
rice
with it.
flavors. This is the
Yeah.
peatiness of it. Oh, this is smoky. It's like,
Jalapeno.
you have to own it.
So I guess when TRIPSITTA really hits it big and gets invited to go on hot ones, we know who's going on.
Yeah, it'd be me.
Like,
Oh,
that-
bro.
that's the story.
Yes.
That's what's
I'll probably
happening.
I'll definitely go on with Jake, but Jake's gonna be the one who's taking the freaking the
Yeah,
whole,
you-
the whole.
Jack's just
You'll be
cross
suffering.
the line.
You'll come off there in those glasses, instead of being round, they'll be like the flame shape. You just go.
They'll just
Right.
they'll just be fogged over. They'll just be
Melt on
fogged
his
over. He'll just be
face.
steaming.
I'll tell you what sucks,
alright.
pepper spray. Getting pepper
Getting-
sprayed sucks.
Heck,
It
getting
sucks.
back around here. So,
Pretty spicy.
what is the cringiest band name or song name that you've ever been involved with?
Ooh.
Who's in that? The chat.
Um,
I wouldn't say the cringiest, but it's definitely the name that when we came up with it was probably one of the weirdest things that we ever came. I came up with it on a whim for part of like a university assignment, and we had to like make up a name like on the spot. We had literally an hour to make up a name for the band. It was just a uni band for assessment, and we had been doing a whole bunch of umbrella like indie kind of stuff. So basically, like, indie, and you branch off from there. So like blues, just blah blah blah. So I was like, fuck it, we're the Counterfeit Umbrellas, because we were supposed to be doing umbrella this, but we weren't really. It was just fucking straight this. So
Oh.
Counterfeit Umbrellas done. That band blew up. That band blew up.
Counterfeit umbrellas.
That band is a really big band still. That's still a big band. That band transferred into the Lighthearts, which
You know what, though?
it gets
That name
nearly
gives me.
20K a year.
I don't know. Have you seen the new Australia Post ad? Where they're like, oh, this fucking garage band needs a name. And it's like a bunch of, like 17, 18-year-old kids sitting around trying to come up with a name for their first fucking band where they're jamming in their garage. And the whole thing is like, the postie goes past and they're like, oh, yeah, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. Because apparently they're friends with their postie, right? And he's like, they're like, oh, you got a new ride. He's like, yeah, it's electric and silent. So then he goes off and does the thing, and then they're like, Electric Silence. That'd be a great name for a band. I'm like, whoever wrote that has never done music in their fucking
Nope.
life. That is the most generic, like pulled 2 words out of a hat band name I've ever fucking heard in my life.
I would have even
that was
offered
a
for like
boomerang.
Electric Posty or something like that. Would have been
Yeah,
like
that's what I was thinking.
marginally
Yeah.
marginally better. Like just like or Silent Posty or something fucking anything but that.
It's like it's the fucking thing. But Counterfeit
That's
Umbrellas
right.
is giving the same kind of vibes. I think it's like it's literally like pull 2 words out of a fucking hat, smush them together. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess like it was Pelican Moon is an interesting name in itself too, which was the first band that has released music that you can publicly go and look at on Spotify and stuff. But before that, we pretty much whenever someone said what the fuck's with the name, we were like we literally took the Aussie trend of two random fucking things and just it's not meant to be like taking ourselves too seriously thing. But before that, when we were actually trying to think of a band name, we had ones like The Rules, the Third Illusion, which just sounds like disgustingly try hard. So there
Third
was that.
Illusion sounds like a really, really bad emo band that came in like late in the fucking era and was trying to catch on the trend.
Yeah.
That's what Third Illusion sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't really know what song name wise if there was anything that was.
Nah, that's all
particularly
right.
bad.
We got some good ones there.
Good ones there.
But band names, yeah, there's definitely a lot of them out there.
Hey, we all gonna start with the bad ones. Some of them, like, hey, look at Corn. I'm sure that was never meant to stick.
Corn fucks, bud.
Yeah.
Corn.
Yeah, you got to go through. Everyone's got to make those mistakes.
Or straight up, like,
alright.
calling yourself Slayer, in this day and age would be like,
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
oh wow, yeah, that's true.
It couldn't work.
It's a bit
product
tacky,
of
like,
the time.
really. Yeah, it's definitely a,
It's a product of the time. All right,
or
now
Megadeth. Like,
ordinarily this would be the last question, but I've called an audible and added another question on afterwards. So Kyle doesn't even know. I
don't
literally
even
have
know
just
about
done it
this.
in the thing. So,
There
so
we go.
second last question in this one. What's your most controversial musical opinion?
Oh. Controversial
Ooh.
music and
Could be about
like hot take?
Triple J.
Yeah, like hot take or something that you know is like you believe, but everyone always disagrees with you when you say it, but you're adamant in you.
Triple J has some trash music at the moment, like just fucking dog shit.
I feel like that's less of a hot take than it would have been if you had said that like 5 years ago. But it's
It's just
definitely
because-
That's not
I'm
the way
an
to get
adamant-
played on the station, mate.
adamant-
That's not the way to
I'm
get
an
played on the station.
no piss off.
I'm a true.
hierarchy.
I love it. Honestly, I really do. But at the moment, I was listening to the last, the last 4 days, and the high rotation is, I swear to God, 3 songs.
Ugh.
I swear to God.
Hate
It's
that.
just, and they're all the same. They're all just like, I must admit, one of them is a really well-written pop song, and it's like got a kind of shit pre-chorus, but the rest of it's actually pretty good. But everything else,
You know what's
just-
you know what's happening, bro. You know what's happening. You're aging out.
No idea. Oh, bro, I think I'm
You're
aged out a long
you're
time.
aging out of Triple J. That's what's happening.
Hi, buddy.
local man
Just-
upset he no longer fits into the category of
Look, I'll
youth
tell you
right
something.
No.
It all comes
I
back
used to be.
around
We
you.
used to be with it,
We,
and then what? It changed.
you
They
fall
changed
back
what
And
it
now
was.
it is weird and scary to me.
You fall back into it. Trust me.
You just gotta open up your palate, I guess.
Yeah, you fall back
It's
Yeah,
all right.
before
Give it
that,
another
it's
6
way
months.
back
You'll
in
find
Now
your
I'm
first
just
grey hair.
Triple Z. Just 4 Triple Z. Go 4 Triple Z.
Yeah,
Up
there
to
you
Z.
go. 4 triple
Or even
Z.
Double J, honestly. Even
Double
Double
J's
J is
pretty
a bit
good.
more authentic. What would mine be? I feel like in a lot of ways, copyright needs to fuck off. To be like, obviously you've got the Ed Sheeran case that was going through the realm, but
Mm.
I watch a lot of, well, you probably do too. I watch a lot of music content on YouTube, and there's a lot of genuine creators on there that are getting royally messed up over copyright claims and demonetization, and generally like, you know, people who 10 years ago their channels were built on doing, like, let's say covers of songs. Nowadays you can't play more than 6 seconds or something like that of a cover of a song, even if you yourself recorded all that audio without it being claimed. Especially by big bands like boomer bands, like, you know, the Eagles and all that stuff. They're really bad for it. You know, like the Hendrix estate. A lot of estates for musicians that are actually dead and probably would have loved if you had have ripped all of their music onto bootlegs and given it to the masses as long as it was out there. And even the whole like copywriting, like chords and melodies and stuff like that. Like, there's 12 notes in a musical scale. It's bound to be repeated at some point. I believe the delivery of that melody is, you know, people got away with it for a really long time, but now it's all coming back and people are going, oh, this is fucked, this is fucked, this is not. At the end of the day, there's 12 notes in a musical scale. You're gonna, you know, there's only 12 keys. You're gonna repeat shit at some point. And
Yeah.
it's sort of like you can still be original playing the C, D, G, and A chords in a progression. You know, you can still do that, and we've seen it done. But this whole thing of originality and the way it's defined and the way an original song is defined and whether or not it's copying something else needs to just it needs to fuck off. It needs to be rewritten. Which to a lot of people, they don't like that idea. Especially record labels and producers who like to make money off of royalties. But even artists themselves get really like hung up on stuff, and it's like, you know, you get artists that are like, oh, let's, you know, you're stealing my song, but that song itself is built off of like a sample of another song or something.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
see how Ed Sheeran did? So Ed Sheeran won his case.
He did, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Did you see? Did you actually read up on how he won it?
He did that on his grandma's funeral too, which was horrible.
Yeah.
So he's pulled out the guitar.
He proved that they ripped the song off from another one, another one.
He pulled out his guitar and he played it in the court, and he just started playing the Marvin Gaye song. I think that's what he was getting sued for.
Yeah.
And then literally went into this medley of about 15 different songs that all.
Yeah, he did the 4-chord song.
Yeah.
He did the Axis of Awesome bit.
Yeah, he did that. Because it was all based off of Van Morrison thing. Actually, I think that he actually was inspired the most by was a Van Morrison tune from back in the day, which predates the Marvin Gaye track by quite a few years. So it's like that just proves it's like the Stairway to Heaven thing. It's all bullshit. It's you know, it's
that's good. I completely agree with that.
What's this new question, Raf?
This new question, yeah. I just was thinking about it as we were kind of going through the podcast here, and I thought, you know, it'd be a good one to add in. If you could, again, this is another one where we have to imagine that bending the laws of time and space are possible. But if you could somehow go back to when you started playing music and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Wow, that's a really good question.
Don't be afraid to sing a lot earlier. For me, you know, I was always scared of being up on. I actually was very terrified of being up on stage or being in front of a crowd or speaking in front of a crowd at all. And obviously, when you start playing guitar, eventually at some point, you're gonna have to play something in front of someone. So yeah, I'd say learn to actually. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to do it right the first time, because even the times when I have got up, you know, back in the day, it's like, oh, you know, Dad's going, Jake, get out your guitar, play some songs, and buggering up all over the place because you're nervous as all hell. It's like, take the pressure off, try and just enjoy the fact that you're doing what you set out to do in any way, shape, or form, and find joy in actually performing and proving that this is a passion of yours. You know, take it seriously, but don't feel like you have to not do anything in front of anyone until you're absolutely perfect, because you'll never be, ever. So that would be my thing.
Good one. That's a
That's
good
good.
one.
I would say I'm trying to think like the moment where music kind of started for me that I can remember. I remember I was in Catholic school and I was in like grade 2, I think it was. And the teacher was like, "All right, we need a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of guys to come in a room and sing these songs. So one of them's going to get picked for playing Jesus." I got picked for playing Jesus. This is just like
Surely
uh,
not.
right? I sung a song. I really didn't care at that point. I was on piano, and that was like my musical instrument at the time. Vocals was not like a thing. I used to sing in the shower for funsies, like everyone does. I would probably talk to myself after, and have a little sit down, and say, if you do this, you're going to enjoy it so much, because I feel like I would still get to where I am without interacting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like if I interacted, it might stop it,
Yeah.
and I'd be scared of that a little
Enjoy
bit. You know what I
yourself
mean?
as much as you can.
Yeah, I would just be like, good stuff. That was really good. Good performance. Well done. I wouldn't even introduce myself. I think I'd just be
Don't
like,
spoil it.
keep it up. Good
Nice.
stuff.
But that just
You
shows
know?
you're in a really good. You're obviously obviously very settled and happy in the place of where you are at the moment, and you wouldn't want to give yourself
I'm
advice.
very excited.
That's
very
that's
excited.
awesome, man. That's
It's
good.
so full of amazing things that are happening, and like literally we got a message tonight about another festival, and it's just like fuck, so keen. Like, it's just, I've chucked it in the board. Like Jake only knows about it literally just before this conversation. I was like, "Here, boys, there's another 4-day festival interested in having us. They've chucked the name on the lineup. Do you guys want to do it?" And we're like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Awesome.
Sounds good.
That's
Get keen
great.
for the release of that information.
Yeah,
I was going to
absolutely.
say, you spill your
Make sure
beans,
you're
spill your
following them on all the
beans.
socials and everything to keep on top of that one. Kyle, Kyle, time for
This is my
the
favorite.
next segment.
This is my
Time for-
favorite. This
time
is
for Kyle's
hands
favorite
down,
segment.
Hands down. Just let me mute this,
you know hit.
and I'm gonna hit it.
Fuck off, Charles.
Let's go, baby.
All right, so time for what is my favorite. Well, yeah, Kyle's favorite segment. I think my favorite segment too. I think we love this
both
one.
love this.
It's so this is the fuck off files, basically, and I mean I guess we kind of had a little one from Jake there before almost, but we'll see if that one comes back around. Where we just basically say if you could collect all of the Infinity Stones and just fucking snap your fingers and take some shit out of the music industry, what would it be and why? We'll grab one from each of you and then a combined one that's a joint effort from the two of you. So, who wants to go first?
Well, I want to take out the music industry. I would love to take out, if possible, all the like the middleman kind of thing, or like or if I could possibly take out, like, as much as I enjoy social media, I think it's an amazing tool. I think there's a lot of like like pay-per-view, you know what I mean, like doing like ads and running ads and stuff like that. If I could take that out, and there was anything else I could do, like anything else that would do the equivalent, I'd probably do it. I'd rather take that out and add 10 other things in to make it, not that. If that makes sense. Because there's nothing worse. I find there's nothing worse than getting, like, I'll get, so for example, get a sponsored ad post, right, from a musician that I know it's just not good. It's just not good. Just plain and simple. It's just not good. As much as I love everyone's performance, anyone performing, and I see it and I go, someone paid probably $500 just to make this happen. Like, it was waste.
Yeah.
It was a waste.
Yeah.
It was a waste. Like, and if there was like any other way to, like, I don't know, make it better. Like, I don't know, maybe if there wasn't ads and there was just PR teams that that Facebook had, that you would contact and be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and the PR team were just fucking brutally honest. Because that's what if you start getting into PR as a musician, like, they are brutally honest with you. They will say, I can't market this to your face. If
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
not good, they'll tell you. They'll be
no,
like, "This is not going to work. For this
I was
we
wondering where
cannot
you
get
were
you
going
on."
with that, and you've made a really good point by just sort of saying that anyone can literally do whatever they want and then pay to have the ad plastered everywhere
Everywhere, and it cannot
without
be. It
anyone
sometimes
telling
it is
them whether it's at that standard
ready
or
or
not.
not. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd pull that one. That can.
Yeah, that can go.
Yeah.
Pay
Yeah,
to play can go.
the I guess well mine uh mine might have had the audio thing go there. My thing is pretty much I know we talked about the copyright stuff before, but I I have a few gripes with the music industry, so um the okay, so I guess it's not their fault, but nepo babies and people who literally, I guess it kind of springs off of what Jack said about paying for ads, but people who can literally just pay to be put in the charts, be paid to be put on the radio, just skip all of the earning that following and just pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's a problem with the world in general, because that obviously translates to a lot of things, you know. It's like, oh yeah, I bought my first house. All I did was, you know, make my own coffees and get my $100,000 loan from my lawyer father, who's very successful, sort of deal.
That famous
That
saying, the famous Trump
yeah,
saying, he's like, I
small
got
loan
a,
of
I
$1
got
million.
$1 million from my
Yeah.
father.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah,
Who
that
gets
sort of shit.
that?
Like the nepo baby thing, pretty much just people paying to be number one, and not actually, not saying that some of those artists aren't actually talented, and that they can't like play, or that it's all been paid for, but because obviously a famous example of that is actually Rebecca Black's Friday is a song that was paid to go to number one. Obviously, that song is that song, and it doesn't always hit in a lot of cases like that. But it's still the fact that you can do that, which undercuts a lot of artists who don't have the finances to literally compete with.
Yeah. I'm not gonna
Trust
lie. If I
fund.
had the money, I would absolutely do that.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
and I think
Rav, you've grinded enough now though, at the point that if
Exactly.
you did do that, the music would still hit because it's so good already. You know what I mean? You didn't. Say for
I get what
example,
you're
you had the
saying.
money when you were like 16 years old and you
you
just
can't
started playing
buy
bass.
you can't
Yeah.
buy like
Can't buy
you
talent.
can't buy genuine, like you can't buy authenticity.
Yeah, yeah. No,
That's the sort
I
of
get
deal,
that.
you know.
I get that, but and it's no, that makes sense, and I do get where you're coming from. I
Because
just
the problem is, it'll get you up to that first point,
if
but then what happened after? What happened to that Friday girl after that?
yeah, but look, I mean, let's
Yeah.
let's look at it this way. Like I saw a video. I saw a video that was like, oh, how did Kiss get so successful, right? How did Kiss make their fucking thing? And you know what they did? When they wanted to play a town, they would go, all right, who's the two biggest bands in that town? And what's the biggest venue that they could, or the biggest venue that they could fill up, right? And then they'd book that venue and those two bands, and they'd put themselves in between those two bands, right?
Yeah.
So number one, you got to have the money to hire the venues and pay those two bands.
Of
then
course.
then when they'd fucking go around the town on the day of the gig, and they'd find all these fucking attractive women, and they'd be like, hey, if we give you a t-shirt and a free ticket to this gig, will you agree to come to the gig and make a lot of noise for us and cheer for us? And that was, so they had, people would see they had hordes of girls screaming for them. And so that gave them a lot of attention. And that was one of the ways that they were able to build a lot of their success early on that pushed them up. And it's like, okay, yeah, so the secret is have money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was even Michael Jackson too. Like at some point in his career, he would literally he would go out and buy the physical copies of his CDs and shove them in the garage, just so they'd hit Billboard number one.
Just so he'd have record sales.
Yeah, and he'd just give them away.
What?
Yeah.
This is how
Yeah.
the game used to work back in the day.
I mean, it's like the equivalent of us loading up like Dear Miss Tina on a device on loop on Spotify and just like
Playing the
keeping
shit
it
out of it.
looping for 3
Yeah.
days.
There are actually
sort of
people that
deal.
make livings out of that. There are actually people that will do ghost tracks on Spotify, set up devices, and
See?
literally just play them 24 hours a day to make Spotify revenue.
Hey, makes the algorithm tick.
One other thing is
yeah.
that T-Pain actually talks about
dude,
it too.
no,
If you go jump on a
Oh.
T-Pain, T-Pain does live streams on Twitch. Like, he doesn't need me to fucking tell everyone to go there. Fuck. But he actually turned around and said, yeah, pretty much when you bring out an album, it's 200 grand if you wanted to go anywhere.
Yeah.
200 grand. 200 grand.
Yeah. See, but on the other end of the spectrum, you've got and I'm big fans of them and more like Jack White as well. But if you listen to the story of the White Stripes, that's more what I like to resonate with, because there's two people who grew up in post financial destructed Detroit in the hip hop scene, who fought tooth and nail to get where they were, sleeping in the back of their van, like going across countrywide tours and getting paid just enough to cover the food bill to go there and back just to get their name out, and fighting hard to earn their place. The fact that there's that much disparity between Kiss and the White Stripes and by extension Jack White, who now does a record label. Obviously he's got Third Man Records and his own solo stuff, but if you sign up to Third Man's stuff, they're constantly they're constantly pushing artists that you've never heard of. They're doing like vinyl presses for them. They're trying to get their name out there. They're highlighting issues in the industry, and that's not single to them. Even the Beatles had to earn their cut, and there's a band that everyone knows. Obviously, they could pay their way when they got to that level, but they had to earn that level.
Yeah.
By doing ridiculous amounts of playing in Hamburg and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to put in that work to get to the
Yeah.
point where they could own
They
the
could
industry.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
You don't
That's
want
the
to
shit.
want to hear about mummy and daddy's money getting you to the
I don't
spot.
like-
You want to hear about the diversity, making the money, and then owning the industry.
Yeah, I like pay to. I don't like pay to win. Pretty much,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
it's
that's fair.
necessary in the economy, but if in a peace, love, and happiness world, I wouldn't have it.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the whole point of these questions.
If
got the
if you're
infinity.
famous, you should. If you're famous, you
That's
should
it.
be. You
That's
should
why we
earn it.
asked.
You need to earn
That-
people's attention.
That's why we asked, because we're like, we like hearing people's takes. If you could, what people would like to get rid of there. So, all right, one more.
Have
One
you got
more.
one that
Do
you
you-
both
has
sort of agree on?
I'll propose to Jack the idea of the constant pressure to have a social media presence is fucking irritating as a musician.
A lot of
Like, the
work.
whole TikTok trend following, the constant being in people's face, standing like the most annoying person
having
on
to be a
social
content
media.
creator rather than just a musician.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like having to basically do your side hustle as a as a YouTube personality, or even on here on Twitch. Even though this is great to talk about stuff like this, and this is awesome, but the necessity of you have to do all this other shit and probably be someone you don't want to be, it often gets in the way of you actually having time to do the music, because you're too busy constantly thinking about what's your next post going to be, interacting with socials, being on there, responding to comments, going to other people's pages, liking their stuff in hopes that they'll look at your profile and like you back.
50 comments a day. 50 comments a day. 50
Who has
comments a day.
How are you supposed to have
Not
any time to
on
spend in-
the same profiles, but different ones. And that's
Yeah.
just to like grow your account. That's
Yeah.
not. That's just so by chance those people eventually. They say so. It's about 4 or 5 months of doing that. Eventually, those people will then go check out your account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
Like,
the
to me,
fight
that's
to
just
stay
like-
relevant. The fight to stay
That's just
relevant
like,
is
oh,
just done.
what?
That's the thing. 10 years ago, it was a lot easier. Everyone used to love hitting that like and subscribe button and hitting the bells and.
Well,
Mm.
social
Now,
media was still fairly new. I mean, not new,
Yeah.
but it was at a bit of a crest, I think, back
Exciting.
then. It hadn't
It
become
was
accessible.
exciting.
Look, I got
Yeah.
a
It was
buddy.
exciting.
I got a buddy that started making YouTube videos, yeah, and he's really good at it. Or he was. He's not doing them anymore. Timmy, get back into them. But like Jack, I was talking to you about that sort of monetization thing before on YouTube and what the goals you need to hit.
Yeah.
He hit his viewer hours in no time. In no time. But did anyone subscribe to his channel?
No.
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 Those
None of them.
conversions are important.
They didn't- yeah.
The views don't add up to the subscribers, and sometimes the subs don't add up to the views. Now it's getting worse.
Like,
Yeah,
like
overall.
I really enjoy getting like our content out that I get specially made or filmed, right? So we save up our dosh, and we hire these people because if I don't want to do it, I would rather, instead of me sitting down for 3 days trying to work out how the fuck to use MailChimp, like fucking use Clipchamp or some fucking, Adobe Illustrator or something, or fucking Canva, or edit this footage that I took on my iPhone or on a shitty GoPro, and then try and fix it up and make it look good, and do that for months and months and months just to get, I don't know, let's just say roughly 100 likes and, 10 comments and 20 shares.
Mm.
It's not worth it.
No,
It's
no,
not
all
worth
that
it.
energy
Where
comes
if
onto
I
the music.
get someone, I'll tell them exactly what I want. I'll tell them I want, say 5 pieces of content from Gymna. Go make it happen. Tell me how much it's going to cost. I want you to be as close as you can to us. Get this from it. I want it to be like this. I want this to be in the background. Give them exactly what you want. They're just going to do the job for you. I'd rather do that.
At least
Yeah.
someone gets to make a living off of that, being a content creator for a band. But like the pressure of, that's once again, that's a money thing. It's like if you can't afford to have someone do that for you, then you're stuck doing
I'm very
it.
lucky with my job. I'm very lucky with my job.
And
I'm very lucky.
and that's gonna bite into you actually sitting there with the instrument or a notepad and fucking making music,
Yeah.
which is what we all want to do.
I mean, who you know is still important, but a lot of the time these days, it really feels like, who can be a better content creator
Yeah.
is going to get over more than who is just
Right.
who is making good music.
100%.
It used
100%.
to
Like
be-
just the guy we had to do our gymnast stuff. Like I could never come up with that shit. Like he just come up with like cool TikTok ideas that I had never seen. Just like, and it's just stuff that we were saying around campfires, and Andy being his funny self, or Kieran just using bottles as like instruments, or just capturing us looking like absolute gods on stage because there was like slow-mo parts that he captured, and hair flicking in the air and people's hands doing like love hearts and these beautiful, just like capturing like stuff that I could never do, even if I tried my heart. You know what I mean? Capturing like the real moments of us off, like behind stage after our show, and how we're just like having like this euphoric feeling of the group coming together and doing our team huddle after a show, or capturing the moment just before we go on stage.
And credit to the people that can do that too, because I mean, it's again, that's an art
Oh,
form in and of itself. And
It is. We can't be expected to be this like almost godlike being where we can make music, record music, perform music, also other instruments, be a content creator, be amazing at content, and then also have time to do and create stuff, and then go perform at shows and book shows and do festivals and make the art, and then make this, then make that, and do that, and then come home after like half an hour of doing it, because it only takes half an hour for you to do that kind of stuff, and be like, yeah, let's let's go make some music. That was really easy. Let's just go chill out.
Yeah.
Well, and then make music videos as well. Make music.
Yeah, you forgot that part.
Yeah.
Which we're going to show Paradise at the end of the stream.
yes,
If you don't
yes,
mind.
we will. Speaking of, why don't we take it home? We've
We've hit
been
our
going
2
for a while, and if
hours.
we don't wrap it up, I feel like we'll just keep talking all night. So,
Which
I honestly could. This has been fantastic.
yeah, thank you
I
so
have
much.
work.
And
I have
we
work.
really appreciate you guys coming on. As I said, especially at late notice, but I think we could definitely get you guys on again for sure, because we could just keep fucking talking. So
I love it.
let's take it home. So, is there anything coming up that you guys want to plug that people should know about?
Any shows?
Oh, I would definitely
Shows,
say.
stuff that's getting released soon, anything like that?
Jack definitely
So
knows
I
more
know you
about
guys have
that.
been waiting quite a bit. You guys have been waiting quite a bit for this one. We've been talking about it for fucking ages. But Demas Tina music video is coming out next week. So get keen for that. That's
Get
coming
on
out
it.
next week.
Get on the
Um,
YouTube.
Sit-
Make
sit
sure you're on
down.
the socials so you know when that drops.
Oh,
Yep. So that'll be all over socials. Don't you worry.
Oh, we'll plug
That'll
it.
be running some
That'd be
PR as well.
Epic.
PR. Mango Snake, which would be pretty cool. So I'm very keen to do that one. You'll definitely see it around. Then there's also a couple of festivals that we're going to be announcing as well, and a massive festival that we're doing at the end of the year with a massive support that we can't say yet until it's been 100% locked in. But it's
Forgot
going to
about
be
Oh yeah, you
huge. That's going to be fucking cool. We're very excited for that one. And if you guys are free and you're in Brisbane, or you want a mission for wherever the hell you are, come down to Brizzy on July 7th. Get yourself a ticket to our next single release show. We're going to be packing out the Black Bear with a couple of amazing local artists. And yeah, we're going to drop another track.
Oh, we gotta wait
Wonderful.
till July.
Yeah.
Don't worry, that was stuff.
He's- Kyle-
Also,
Kyle's going to be counting the days.
There's one more thing. We're gonna drop a doco, a 20-minute doco of our time with Jono in the studio. So if you've ever wanted to see what shenanigans we get up to in the studio with Jono, you'll get to see what we get up to. So it's a big doco. I'll break it into smaller parts for
That should
everybody.
keep me sustained until July.
Yeah.
It'll
Couple of
definitely
content
keep
drops
you satiated.
Wonderful.
But it's a good
wonderful.
good doco. Lots of fun shit happens. Lots of subway adventures and Dick Vane's and something.
Awesome.
It's
Well,
yeah, it's a journey.
that's great.
Good
That's so
journey.
keen for that one. So, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Don't go anywhere once we wrap the podcast, because we'll have a quick chat afterwards.
No worries.
Kyle is going to queue up the video for Paradise to go to very shortly.
Yep.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. Once again, massive thank you for helping us to hit 100 followers. And don't forget to check out local band Smokeout this coming Sunday at 4:20. They'll have they're starting the finals, or the shootout for their try and get the best local video out of everything they've had on recently. So that'll be fun to go through. And other than that, just be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other. We've got to look out for each other. It's the only way we're going to get through all of this. And thank you so much. Have a good one, guys.
Take it easy.
Catch you
See
next
you next
time.
week.
Thank you.